Good morning and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. It's Monday, the 1st of March. Hope everybody's having a good time. Kicking things off this morning, we've got Andre the Boss Man. How you doing?
Greetings, everyone, and I just want to say sorry for being late. This evidently happens. So, Christopher Tock, you can now stop pulling an Amber Heard on the hostages.
Yes, please do that. Or please don't do that, I should say. Also joining us, of course, is the voice of Midnight's Edge, Rob.
Nothing like a little Moog synthesizer to start your week, is there?
Oh, I love Moog. And we also have with us joining Script Doctor, our fifth Beatle.
Good morning. Thanks for having me this morning.
All right. If he's the fifth Beatle, does that make me the ninth Beatle?
No, that makes you not on the Beatles.
Yeah, I'm the forgotten member, Stumpy
Pete.
Stumpy Pete, big geek with glasses. Yeah, he died.
And we may have some other guests joining us shortly, but for now, we're going to get started with us. We're going to say hello to all these wonderful people in the chat. We've got our very own Lorena Creole in the chat. How you doing? We got Pinhead joining us this morning. How you doing? We got all kinds of regulars like Mad Vibe and Alpha J and Marks47. We've got our lovely Wrench and Natasha sharing all the links and stuff in the chats there, so be sure you check out Script Doctor's channel. Have you been doing anything lately? You've been so busy.
No, I haven't done anything, but my subscribers are going up and my views are going up, so people are liking the stuff I've already completed, which is great because you can watch it at any time because it's not dated stuff.
We got Wesley Snipes, yeah.
I like that. That's a good one.
Duma Studios, RSO Media. We got our regular Canadian Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood Canadian Spider-Man, eh? And we got Valiant Renegade as well in the chat. Thank you so much, guys, for hopping in this morning. We appreciate that.
Pinheads, did Pinhead mention to you that he doesn't want to be a Pinhead? No more? He just met a nurse that he does dope for. Everybody, that's a deep dive, people, if you don't know that.
Sometimes
must be a very, very deep one.
So it's a song. It's
awesome to start not just a week, but also the month. It's the 1st of March, everyone.
That's what I said.
We are getting through like a year of madness, aren't we? We are somehow still here.
Sounds like a movie, Year of Madness. Or book
I feel like March is like you've officially broke the year in. You know what I mean? It's not a new year anymore.
This is your first oil change of the year, really.
Right. Yeah, you're like, okay, we're into this now. You should be past writing 2020 on your checks. You know,
speaking
no
of
more
checks,
excuses.
rent pay today. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't remind me. I don't have any money
and
for that.
girthy guitarist says, hoping for this day of insanity. Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath and just brace yourself.
Yeah, we're back to Clown World all over again. You know. But we do have a few super chats, Andre, if we want to address those.
Yes, we do indeed. And just to get on that note, then even with the world falling apart around us, then we are going to try to lighten your day a little bit and take our mind off of things as we focus on our subculture or popular culture falling apart. So good stuff.
Yeah.
We have Roger Haynes who sent us a super sticker for Canadian $1.99. So thank you so much for that. And then let us see. We have this is a little bit out of order, but we'll get through it all. The Wall says, "Sup guys? Can one of you ask Bill Burr if he can actually hear the cancel mob chasing after him?"
I wish I could. I wish I knew Bill Burr. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, it would
I don't
be
know.
awesome, but
I know a lot of stand-up comics that have been going after him for a few years, but.
But looking at him in the video that we published well, this morning or late last night, depending on where you are, it would appear that he can hear their sabers rattling. It absolutely would appear that way, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
And we are
Fractal Jack
going
wants a
to.
TV update. I still haven't got one yet. That takes money. But and not only that, like every time I go to like look for one, it's just it's been a mess. But anyway, no, not yet.
Yeah.
I think I've had the same TV for the last 12 years. I paid enough for it. I better keep it. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. And Spider Unlimited says for $4.99. I cannot bring it up on screen. Sorry about that, but this is how the software rolls. At this point, I have more faith in the Three Stooges hanging my wallpaper than the people running Lucasfilm. As well, you should, and we're going to get into that. And Gran Wazoo 42 sent us a €5 super sticker of a cute little doggy, so thanks so much for that. Shogun Gaming sent us a 14 Danish krona unicorn super sticker, so thanks so much for that. And Mr. Tickle Trunk sent us a $2 Canadian cute little doggy super sticker of like the amazing little Shiba Inu. They're so cute. Too bad about their personality, but they're really cute to look at. And I believe that we're mostly caught up to this point then. No, not quite. We have a couple of more. We have some woke bloke who sent us. Let's see if we can get that up on screen here. That should be possible. Just give me 1 second here. Tom, can you see the one from woke bloke?
No, all the farther I can go up is.
I got it. Some woke bloke says for
that one.
$20 Australian. Thank you so much. With all the damage done to Disney by Kathleen and in effect Marvel, why hasn't Feige spoken up to the Bobs? Well, maybe he has. That's like the thing. We don't know. What we do hear, don't we, Tom, is that there's growing signs of resistance several places within the industry, especially in Lucasfilm, and you got to imagine in Marvel as well, because like there's a spillover effect from all the wrath against Kennedy's Lucasfilm that everyone wants to take down Disney Plus, and that affects Marvel too. So you got to imagine that there's some spillover. Actually, Tom, before you say what we have heard, Script, have you heard anything about this? Like, why hasn't Kevin Feige spoken up?
Probably because I mean, technically it doesn't have anything to do with Marvel, but I would imagine, considering the fact that the social media traffic for WandaVision has pretty much fallen off a cliff since the reveal of Gina no longer being brought back for
It was funny how those two coincided, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty miraculous. I would not be surprised if he at least scheduled a meeting to say, hey, whatever happened over there on the Disney side Lucasfilm side of thing, it's affecting Marvel, and we're the only company that's kind of keeping the rest of Disney afloat at the moment. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if something started.
Because my observation is that people were pretty happy and excited about WandaVision right up until Gina Carano got fired, and at that point, excitement fell off a cliff.
Yeah,
that's just my observation, and it didn't come from WandaVision. WandaVision didn't do anything wrong. It's just that at that point, something external happened, and people threw their hands up in the air, decided no more.
Well, I think a big part of it was most people weren't that interested to begin with. I think a lot of people that were watching WandaVision only watched it because they happened to have Disney Plus. And you also got to remember a lot of people still were hanging on to it. And this was Disney's reason for releasing it the way they did. They still probably had it from leftover from Mandalorian if they weren't somebody who was, subscribed all the time as well. So again, I have zero fucks to give about the show. Even though I left on that big old cliffhanger was the last thing I saw. I've heard enough since then that I'm just like, I really don't care. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I mean, I'm sure I'll catch up with it eventually at some point, but I've heard enough now. I've seen that wretched fucking song. If I would have been in the show and that came into it, I bet you I would have fallen out by now. Like I'm almost like I'm worried to watch it now because it's like I'm any like I did have for it's going to go out the window. I think.
And you've seen the big reveal anyway.
I already knew that
all along.
And I knew. And spoilers, close your ears for 2 seconds. I already know that Mephisto's coming too. So I knew that from the toys. So there's really nothing left for me to give a shit about. And I kind of have a feeling where it's going to end. You know, I mean, yeah. It was the Gina thing, and I don't want to support a company that's going to allow that kind of shit to go on. I mean, it was one thing when the mob would go after people and Disney would just ignore them for the most part. But when it comes to Kevin Feige, to get it back to the super chat here, honestly, he's probably one of the reasons Chris Pratt still has a job. Because the way Disney seems to react to these things, I got to imagine that's been on the docket.
And haven't Disney also recently hired this new
social media or whatever person? I think
not just social media person, but a new committee to go through them and how horrible they are and to censor everything about them, like some story commission or some other truth commission, one thing or another, and Pirates of the Caribbean, not Pirates of the Caribbean, but Pirates and Princesses did an expose. I haven't paid too much attention to it yet, but apparently,
that's the one I watched last night. I think I sent you.
Every single person on that panel are politically somewhere to the left of Chairman Mao. So good going there.
Yeah, and did we get this one here?
No. Al Manuel 0311 says Bill Burr can't be racist. He's married to Nia Long.
They don't care.
They don't care. And on top of that, the who is that host of the Star Wars High Republic show that's married to a white guy that made all those tweets about white people?
Oh, was it
Christina Ariel?
Yeah, Christina Ariel. She's married to a white man, but she's still got some questionable perspectives.
But here's the thing, though. Actually, Bill Burr, now this day and age, him being married to Nia Long doesn't shield him for anything, because you have many people right now that basically want segregation back again. And what they say is that any white man that marries marries a more diverse woman, let's say, then according to the narrative, he does it only because he's fetishizing that woman. So that's now the new point of attack. So that doesn't shield him of anything. On the contrary, it's a new point of attack.
Yep. And I don't know if
he's got no ways with it so far, but we'll have it there. And Tom,
I don't know if we missed any more in between here, but then the next one is this one. If not, the chat jumped on me, of course.
Plunk, it looks like, says love the work you do. Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be getting into the into everything before long. We're just going to get caught up with a couple of more of these super chats, and then we'll take a deep dive into all of these topics. Darius Munchhausen sent us $1.49 super sticker of a bucket of popcorn, and that's actually going to be really practical, because we have quite the show for you today. And Thunderstorm says Bill Burr will perform his best Tim Pool mimic.
My favorite part is when he's like, don't you have a figure? No, you fucking nerds.
Let me put on my.
He wishes. He won't say it, but he.
Yeah, you can tell in his face. And somebody wrote it in the comments too. He's like,
come on,
the look on Bill's face when they remind him that he doesn't have a Star Wars figure.
Yeah.
Do you know why he doesn't have a figure yet? He doesn't have a costume yet. That's why.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll take a deep dive into Bill Burr momentarily. Before then, Piston Bullet sent us a $5 super chat, so thank you for that. There was no comment, so either there never was one or it got removed in either event. Thank you for the support. Alpha J30 says for $5, this just in. Twitter is now trying to cancel Dr. Seuss over what they claim are racial insensitive depictions in his books.
They're fucking furry people. Yes, I saw this morning. I was going to bring it up. They're fucking furry people. They're who's and what's its. They're not even people.
Yeah. There's no human that I know of in any of the Dr. Seuss books.
There's who's and what's its and
whatchamacallits
and cats and hats and Grinches. They're Hortons. Yeah, they're not even elephants. Oh, for Lord's sake. I think the only one he ever had maybe a human in would have probably been the Giving Tree, maybe. Or he didn't even write that one. I'm thinking.
No, he did not write the Giving Tree. That's someone else.
That's Jesus Christ.
Oh, I can't remember it. It's been since
it's Shel Silverstein, ain't it?
Sounds familiar. Could be. Again, I haven't read it in 20 years. So
I'm not even sure if he's ever had any humans in any of his stories, has he?
Oh.
Except for, what about the kids in Cat in the Hat? Are they humans or are they like who's? I can't remember.
I don't think they're human, but
I think they're
not
who.
They're not who's
either. They're who-like, yeah. They're probably the what's-its or whatever. Who knows? When it comes to fucking Dr. Seuss, I don't even know.
I think that Stacking the Turtle one is the only one that's got a direct allegory to like too much power and all that stuff.
Well, are they doing this because of that, or are they doing it because of the whole like the whole deal with
green eggs and ham are racist? That's what they're probably thinking.
Well, no, like wasn't there a whole bunch of shit a while back that supposedly Dr. Seuss, the Theodore Geisel, was racist, but that was just a bunch of horse shit.
Yeah, I don't know any legit claims.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like the whole like Disney's a big racist too. It's like, do you have any like actual proof of that? Because like I'd argue the opposite, but yeah, I wish Gary was here this morning because I think he actually has some ties to the Theodore Geisel family, if I'm not mistaken. He's met him, so because I remember right,
that'd be awesome actually to get his take.
Because if I remember right, his dad used to work for him.
Gary's dad was an accountant, right?
Yeah, he was he was his accountant. Yeah. But anyhow, so I'll be interested to hear his take on that for sure. But yeah, that's the latest thing they're trying to cancel. Yeah, that's the best part is when they try to cancel somebody who's already gone. Like they've kind of tried to go after John Wayne how many fucking times now?
Yeah, let alone Lovecraft.
And yeah, Lovecraft is another one. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a great example because didn't he denounce all his racism later in life? Because he actually was racist.
Did he? I don't believe he did that. But,
I thought he did.
I'm not so sure about that, but maybe he did for all I know. But yeah,
they've tried a couple times to cancel John Lennon. Like, oh, he was a domestic abuser. I'm like, you think I don't know that really? Everybody who's a Beatle fan knows he wasn't very kind to Cynthia. I'm like, geez, get with the program, people. Come on.
Yeah, they try to go after Michael Jackson every few years. And Cellar Door says I'm right because I could have swore there's like some story where he had like correspondence with another author later in life, and he realized.
You know what? Hold on a second. If you're trying to cancel Woody Allen for something they said they found no evidence. Why are people going after Roman Polanski?
Yeah,
well, they try. He's one of them that they do and then they don't, and then they do, then they don't.
Yeah.
But I've been watching that Woody Allen documentary, not to get too deep into that, and I'll tell you, they're grasping for straws in that damn thing. I was one who kind of believed it for years, and I'm just like watching this thing, and I'm like, they're not even consistent in their own shit here.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's very inconsistent, and and then again, you can do your own research. It's all out there. I just don't know. I mean, and I'm not one of those who's like a Woody Allen fan, so I have no reason to really stick up for him. Like, I can't even think of one movie of his that I've got a few of his movies, but they're not ones that I watch all the time.
Well,
in fact, some of them are ones I've never even watched, like Sleeper and stuff that I got, but I just haven't watched yet.
Yeah,
have you ever seen Everything You Ever Need to Know About Sex, but we're too afraid to ask?
That's probably the only one I have really seen of his, besides what's the one, View from a Mall or some shit like that. And that thing was fucking horrible, and I don't even think that was one of his movies.
I don't think he didn't direct it.
He was just in it.
Yeah,
and then like otherwise, I've seen like a few of his other movies from like the mid 2000s, and they were like, yeah, they're all right.
Yeah, Natasha's saying that Roman Polanski is canceled in France. I'm like, okay, all right, but they just haven't gotten around to it in America. So, yeah. But the people, like I said, listen, this. Okay, yeah, you want to say Woody Allen is a scumbag? Fine, he's a scumbag. But you know what? He made some great movies. I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: not all celebrities are going to be nice people. Okay. Some of them are going to be nice. Some are going to be scumbags.
I'd say that probably most aren't. It's just what's the level of their offense. And again, who are most people to cast stones? And that's kind of like the problem with casting. Every single person on this panel, and every single person out there watching, have done something cancelable in their past. It's like simple as that. Everyone has.
Okay,
that's
okay.
Kind of like the problem.
Andre, okay. I have to come clean now, okay? Yes, I rip tags off of mattresses that say "Do not remove by penalty of law."
I know the police were buried bodies.
You know what's even weirder, and I get it, and you're totally, you can think whatever you want about him. Obviously, Cellar Door. I'm not trying to change your mind, but you bring up the fact that he married his adopted daughter. All that documentary has done to me is made me believe that he had less of a relationship as a daughter to her before their relationship started than anything did before. Like, because the way that documentary paints it as, he has no time for any of those kids except for a couple of them. And even then, like, most of them are still on his side. So it's a really odd documentary. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish with it. And again, it's not something we get into here. But yeah,
no, that's way on the side of anything that we cover. I don't think we've ever.
All I'm trying to say is, if
any context whatsoever,
the goal that documentary has is failing, in my opinion, and I'm going into it completely like unbiased. So
yeah, but moving on from there, Uberman says
documentaries. So watch that one about the Strangler from LA. They got on Netflix. That one's burning up. That's actually really good.
Yeah, there you go. But as I was saying, Uber B Man says for $4.99, I'm not a fan of canceling, but why can we not make our voices heard about this Jar Jar Abrams news and make AT&T know we do not want this? We will get back to that later on, so hold your thought on that. All I will say right now is that they kind of like made virtue signaled so hard that they're completely shielded from any kind of attack, aren't they? Script, like, there's sure no one in the industry can go against JJ on his Superman project, can they?
No, not really. I mean, he's got a pretty solid contract, and on top of that, we're seeing some patterns of what Kathleen Kennedy has been doing with the Star Wars franchise over with JJ. It seems like he's just going to be towing the line of that and compromising Warner Brothers for the future.
Yeah. So the virus is spreading. Good stuff. And we will get into that a little bit later on. Until then, Thunderstorm says WandaVision episode 8 is totally different. The other episodes were just a setup. Yeah, you know what that tells me? That you have 7 episodes of filler before you actually get down to the real story. That's a problem. That's not to the series credit at all, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if it's all really, if you're doing all this setup, better be one hell of a payoff. Yeah. I mean, I better see like John Krasinski show up. Hi, I'm Dr. Reed Richards. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and I've seen the whole, like, again, I've had everything spoiled to me even prior to dropping out of the show for the most part, and I don't know. I'll probably get back into it because are we going to continue to review them or?
I think we'll do it. We'll do one for
Like
the
a final
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final episode. I think it's this Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, on Friday or Saturday we'll do like one rounding out the entire series. I see no reason not to do that. So yeah, gentlemen, that's your homework. I'm not going to make you watch any Star Trek or anything right now, but you have to suffer through some WandaVision.
Oh, how convenient! Because there is none.
Not for at least another year.
And it's going to be a while after that. We could probably talk about that a little later too. But yeah,
trekking across the universe.
Not anymore with Kurtzman verse.
What?
I hope not. Anyway,
the clock is ticking. Let's just put it that way.
Clock is ticking. Yes, indeed. With that, did we have any more super chats before we get into the main topic?
Yes, we do. N. Sheehan wonders for £10. What's her secret? How has Kathleen Kennedy survived so long? Well, Script, you're in the industry. How has Kathleen Kennedy survived so long?
Well, prior to her becoming the president of Lucasfilm, she was actually a rather revered and effective producer for what she had to do. She was connected with and associated with some of the best talent on directors and other producers and actors in the industry for about 35 years up until that point. So yeah, she's paid her dues, earned her way, and made a lot of connections that have given her a lot of power, pull, and probably a lot of access to some filthy skeletons in a lot of people's closets. And you can't get rid of her.
Yeah. So that the people that say that there may be some level of blackmail there, they may not be entirely wrong, may they?
No, everybody's got a story on somebody, and it's in various levels of degrees, like of severity. Some of it means nothing. It's just something that the individual just doesn't want to be addressed. Others are far more severe. There's always rumors and conjecture about it, but it is some of the way it is, especially when you get into like the crazy circles that Kathleen Kennedy has been involved with for a while.
There's an old saying around sports Script. And he goes, "It's easy to win when you're coaching Michael Jordan."
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and that's the thing, as I've even pointed out, is even if she didn't, like, let's just say for the sake of argument, one way or the other, since we don't have any proof of it, didn't have this magic safe full of all these secrets, she's still the most powerful producer in Hollywood of all time.
Yeah,
hands down. The only person who can probably give her a run for her money right now would be Kevin Feige. But the sheer amount of years that she's been in the industry, the amount of movies that she's been involved in, the shit that she's got under her belt, the fact that, I mean, we've even pointed it out in our videos many a times, like this is how things got to this point, because you have somebody like her who you trust, which is basically like Rob pointed out. It's like you just brought Michael Jordan on your team, right? So what are you going to do? You're just going to give Michael Jordan a ball and let him run with it. And that's what Bob did. He's like, okay, you seem to know what you're doing. And especially after Force Awakens and Rogue One, he'd have just been like, yep, go ahead, do your thing. And I would do the same thing. I mean, nobody can fault him for that. I mean, if anything, that's the one thing you can say and look at it and go, yeah, Bob, I can't fault you for that. If I was in your position and, she had just produced the biggest movie of all time and did a follow-up that was really well received and did well at the box office, she's obviously got this thing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's got this. I go back to do what I have to do.
She's the Phil Jackson of the movie world.
Well, and not only that, in Script, you can maybe help elaborate or back me up or however on this. The way these companies work is a lot of times when I say one hand doesn't know what the other's doing, I'm not kidding, because there's several different sections. Lucasfilm is not only just its own department, it's its own company. So like she's the head of that company. Sure, it's a Disney company and they,
it's
whatever.
It's a Disney-owned company, technically, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, it's kind of like how PepsiCo owns, Taco Bell and Pizza Hut and KFC. They're still all their individual entities under the same umbrella. So like, yeah, the big wigs have some power, but they don't get involved unless there's a real good reason to. And even then, I'm willing to bet they got to go through a lot of hoops to just fire somebody like Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, look at the Moonves situation as an example. I mean, they had every reason in the world to fire that guy, but he still managed to get out of there with how much money and all kinds of other things.
I think that he lost his.
He did lose some of it, but I still think he gets some of it. I thought
he lost the golden parachute, but anything that has his name associated with it prior to his termination still allows him to get residuals and payouts and all those other things. So. Oh.
Hit the wrong button. My bad.
No worries.
But no, I think, and that's the other thing too. As I was going to say, is I think he didn't get the big payday, but wasn't he like taking him to court or something like that over it too? Because like that's the thing, is without him being convicted of anything, I don't know if they have any grounds to stand on. That's the thing. These contracts have so many loopholes, and that's why whenever anybody gets fired or leaves a company, they walk away with so much money. And that's another thing they got to avoid. Maybe there's some huge like out clause in there to where if they try to fire her ass, they got to pay her so goddamn much money that it's not, because that's what we heard. And again, take this with a grain of salt. That's what we heard about Kurtzman's contract, was that it wasn't such a much. It was such a it wasn't that big of a contract where it was enough for CBS to worry about on the one end. But if they were to fire him, it would have cost them a whole lot more in severance, I guess is what I heard.
Yeah, they have like a severance type of clause in a lot of contracts. So if you're like signed for say 2 years, 5 years, whatever, 10 years, they equate what a severance would be for an early termination. And it's usually pretty big because it's based on I think average rate of success is the term, if I'm not mistaken. So they calculate how much you would have made the company if you were like just above the line, so to speak. And then that's why the payout would be so big. And if you started off really strong, that would go towards calculating your average over the course of the rest of the term. So when you have something like The Force Awakens, which was like a $2 billion film, and then on top of that you got Rogue One, which did well, and then when you aggregate that with The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker all breaking $1 billion, that can all be factored into a type of severance payout if they wanted to prematurely terminate her contract.
Yeah, and
a lot of money.
So yeah, it's in other words, it's easier said than done to get rid of someone like Kathleen Kennedy.
And I can imagine.
I just want to go through 2 more super chats. Then we're going to get into and really take a deep dive. I mean, into the first topic of today, which is Bill Burr. On that note, Christopher Tuck says, I would have bought a Bill Burr figure. Yeah, we'll get into that. And ActionCom says for $10, thank you so much for keeping our lights on. It's not unheard of for a company whose employees faction to remove everyone and throw out a toxic civil war into the street. Could that happen? And what would be the consequences? Yeah, to me, that actually ties right back to what Script was saying. That thing that they have to get rid of is actually Kathleen Kennedy, and once they have gotten rid of her, then they can relatively easily get rid of every single person in her faction without too much of a hassle. Getting rid of her, that's like the big thing. That at least is my understanding of it. Script, am I completely off there?
Well, I mean, it with any type of new head of a studio, they usually get rid of a lot of the people that would still be grasping onto the previous head's ideas, because again, they want to start fresh. They want to have full control and credit over the new projects that are coming in there, even if they are identical to what was being done before. So that could be the case. The problem we have here is Kathleen Kennedy going to go? Like, what is her contract going to be softly extended? Is it going to be not renewed at all, and she's just going to play it out, and then she's going to go on some sort of? Are they going to give her like a celebratory exit type of thing, and have a new person come step up to the plate? I don't know. It's very curious.
She'll get another Lifetime Achievement Award from somewhere, and
AFI or something.
Yeah, as a way of validating, like that, as their way of defending her to the rest of the industry. And validating everything she's done.
I don't think I don't think the ideals she brings to Lucasfilm are going anywhere because I think they're bigger than her. I think they're beyond her. I think they just play into her ego. Because, I mean, here's the thing. This shit that's going on in Lucasfilm goes beyond Lucasfilm. It's in Disney, period.
No, this is true. Yeah, because you
This
have
is
like this commission, as we said. You have like this cultural washing commission, which is right now pointing to everything in Disney's history and calling it problematic, slapping content warnings on the Muppets of all things and everything.
Exactly, and that's why I keep
goes way
saying
beyond Lucasfilm. Yeah, so the
getting
people
rid
who
of
blame here are actually the higher ups at Disney for allowing this to infiltrate the entire company.
Yeah, what she's doing is metastasized throughout the entire company.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, like, so she's just another useful idiot in this whole mess eventually. Like, yeah, once she's gone, that's fine. You can get rid of all the Kurtzmans, you can get rid of all the JJs, you can get rid of all the Kathleen Kennedys. There's still going to be another one to replace them.
It's not that she's a useful idiot, she's queen idiot.
Well, she may be queen idiot in this instance, or she's just passing through, because you guys got to remember, she's almost 70 damn years old. Do you really think the only thing she's really hopped up on is the female part of it? She don't probably give a shit about the rest of it.
Well, but she's been this has been brewing with her for a very long time. Back in the 70s when they went to SNL, there's no women on the cameras. I'm like, yeah, because they weigh 300 fucking pounds each. That's why, you dumb broad.
The camera's not the women. But anyway.
And I've been
Yeah.
No, but like again,
early 80s, but yeah.
And from what we've been hearing, Momita Sungupta is who she's probably prepping to be her replacement. And I gotta imagine she's not going to be any better. She might be a quieter, less, obviously because we don't know who she is, like Kathleen Kennedy. But
Momita Sungupta, she, like I said, just looking at her resume, all she's really done is the day-to-day financial work and stuff, signing the checks, making the phone calls, setting everything up so everybody else can do everything. When she went to Netflix from, where was she? Was at Viacom or somewhere? She was at Viacom. She did a lot of work.
I believe she started at Viacom, yeah.
Yeah. When she went to Netflix, she didn't do because she was in breach of contract. So she just sat there. They most likely told her, yeah. Just kick back, relax at home while we work this out. Don't worry. And then I don't know I can't remember what the settlement was, but apart from working on,
well, that actually gives me a bit of a better feeling, because if they actually were willing to go through all that nonsense, then that means there was probably something about her that was good. And I don't mean like
Natasha. What we do know about Momita Sengupta is that her name is associated with all the crappy shows that put VH1 and MTV into the toilet. That's I mean, yeah, we can have cause to worry right there, but at the same time,
that's the most you've given me to have cause to worry now.
Yeah, but at the same time, from her job description, it doesn't appear that she's going to have any sort of creative decisions to make.
And welcome, Paulie. How you doing this morning?
Good morning.
But Tom, hey, Paulie, what's up? But the other thing too is that Momita Sengupta, like I said, when she was hot. After she was hired, that's when all this shit started to hit the fan.
I'm not saying you're wrong either.
Yeah, because in my opinion, I think Iger was going to turn the whole ship over to Favreau. And what do we always say? What do we always say, Tom, about Kathleen Kennedy? Like she tells Frank every single evening, "I'm not going down without a fight."
I don't think she was going to give it to Favreau.
No,
I don't think Favreau wants
creative. The creative part was going to go to Favreau.
I still don't think. I think you want to know my honest opinion, and you can call bullshit on it if you want to. I still say the initial plan, the original plan, after The Last Jedi after that big old blow-up meeting that we heard about, was James Gunn was supposed to oversee, kind of via Kevin Feige vicariously, what's going on over in the MCU, while Feige was going to come over and clean up house at Star Wars. And that all went fucking apeshit crazy as soon as James Gunn got fired. Everything got tossed out the window and everything went nuts. So that put everything back by like 2 years' time. Disagree with me, re-agree with me if you want. I don't think Favreau was on board for any more than these couple shows. I really don't. I think he was kind of doing Iger a favor. He had this little idea. He wanted to get into Star Wars. He's seen his in. And now Kathleen Kennedy has probably made it to where he don't even want to be there anymore, I bet. Would you? I mean, she's pretty much destroyed each and every one of his fucking shows now.
Oh, yeah.
The only one that's still got a chance is Boba Fett. And who's going to give a fuck?
Hey, remember what we heard? That rumor was going around. She was saying, "I'll burn this silliness to the ground," and she's doing exactly that. She's standing in the house.
One firing too.
Yeah, she's standing in the house pouring gasoline on top of the stove right now.
Well, and if somebody wants to, if they actually get Rosario Dawson out of there, I want to see somebody tell me that this isn't to, she isn't using this whole thing to sabotage Favreau with. Because if that's the case, then why wasn't she fired over the whole John Boyega thing? Because they even had a face-to-face meeting. Remember?
I'd love to see the notes from that meeting.
Oh, I would love to too, because that's the first time ever Kathleen Kennedy probably got a dressing down in her entire life from somebody that was younger than her, below her, and of the not white.
John, we're very disappointed in you. Hey, fuck off, all right, lady? I was in your movie. You shrank me on the fucking poster. What more do you want?
Yeah.
No, that meeting that was one of those meetings that Gina was talking about. That was Kathy's punishment. Don't you get it, you guys? They're treating everybody like children. That's what Gina was trying to say. They expected an emotional reaction to this shit. That's not how adults act. That's how children act. And punishing people for their actions and shit, that's the way children see things.
And Boyega wasn't having any part of it, sounds like.
In a professional... Oh, no, he did. He took part in it, remember? That was the whole thing. He called him out. They said, "You're right, Mr. Boyega." And they even had a special meeting between him and Kathleen Kennedy to where she could learn how to be more sensitive to African Americans. And they had a little meeting. That was her punishment, is she had to sit there and get dressed down by John Boyega. Now, am I saying they're in the wrong in this? No. But that's not even the point. So they're still going to do it. It was all for show.
Yeah, do you think, this is her trying to reassert control now? Like, nobody talks to me like that. I got a feeling KK's resentful over that. I'm like, I've been in this business for how long? I'm being talked down to by an actor who's done 3 movies.
Well, not only that, she's got to sit there and go, well, it wasn't even my fault. It was you motherfuckers because, you're kowtowing to Disney. She probably had nothing to do with it. Or to China, Disney is. She probably had nothing to do with it. But she's still the one who took the brunt for it this time. And let me tell you, I bet you're right, Rob, because she sure ain't used to it.
Say that again.
When was that meeting?
Say that again, Tom. People don't say I'm right very often. Note the day with time, people.
When exactly was that meeting? Boyega,
I'm trying to find
I think it was September.
Yeah, timeline like last year.
It was after
November,
he did this GQ piece talking about how he was sidelined. So it was around September, October, November.
No, it was November. Well, it may have happened in September, but
we learned about it in November, so it probably happened in September, October, I would imagine.
Was that in conjunction with him wanting more lines and Rise of the Soy Walker?
No, this is way after.
This was after. Way after. This
was when he had his this was right after the BLM thing when he come out and he's like, I don't give a shit if this kills my career.
Right.
And then he went out and he said some things about it. And so then they had to play nice in the press about it. Mm-hmm. And KK basically had to take the brunt of that one. Which I don't say, hey, you know what? Fuck it. It may not have been her fault, but it's kind of like getting, Al Capone on fucking tax evasion. You know what I mean? It's like sooner or later, something's got to stick. And if she got punished just like Gina would have got punished, then so be it. Good for her.
Well, his contract was out, right, Script?
Well, no. Once the obligation for the film is done and his press release is done, if his NDA only limited him to that time, then he could say whatever he wants to afterwards. So,
but Gina's in a different boat.
Not necessarily. She only signed a 2-year contract, so she just never.
She
got
was out of contract.
So
that's the thing is
go ahead.
Go ahead. Paulie.
Yeah, because ultimately, I think that KK saw an opening to really teach try to teach with Gina and the whole, the World War II Holocaust, reference, where she couldn't touch Boyega's.
Well, Boyega's probably never coming back, so she can't do anything she can't hold anything over.
No,
him.
that was all about saving face.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking too, because the BLM
yeah.
time, Boyega and all that, their KK wasn't gonna come near to commenting or.
She couldn't weasel out of that one exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. That's
no. And again, even though it wasn't technically her fault, like, I mean, this is one time I can say, really, I mean, she didn't write the fucking story. She didn't make the poster. I guarantee you that was Disney on the poster part, and JJ was setting him up for the story part. That was all Ryan and whatever decisions that were made afterwards. And I mean, she may have been a part of that. I don't know. But it was clear that they re-steered the boat on that one. Whether it was because they didn't want him and Ray together, I don't know. Whatever reason it was, but that was surely what he was insinuating. Slimer Snarf, holy cow. You come in here every day with that awesome fucking icon and you drop the best super chats, man. Happy Monday, he says. Poor Andre has been waiting on the diving board for his deep dive for the past half hour. Yes, he has. Yeah, so we're actually in the middle of it now, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. But
it all leads to the same road here.
And again, thanks to Slimer, Snarf, for an awesome super chat, for awesome understanding and empathy, and of course for a very generous donation that absolutely keeps the lights on and the coffee jugs filled for all the burning, all the midnight burning oil that's going on, especially in the making of this last video. Yeah. Because this thing here, the one that we dropped late last night, if you're in the US, and the middle of the morning, if you're in Europe, the one about Bill Burr, that was one that absolutely required burning the midnight oil. So let's take a deep dive into that.
Well, that actually... I was going to say, Stephanie actually wrapped up the KK part of it pretty well. And
okay, go back to Stephanie.
Yeah, because I mean that's really what KK is. She is a phony. Let's be real. Her resume has more to do with Lucas, Spielberg, Eastwood, Milius, and you can add Robert Zemeckis to that list. She stood on the shoulders of giants. Because when you look at her resume of movies when she doesn't have somebody like that involved, you get crap that nobody's ever heard of again and milk money.
That's part of jokes for Hollywood too.
Yeah, you get the butt of jokes and things nobody's ever heard of. That's what you get. No, that was Frank's. You stay away from that.
Following on from that,
that's not a bad example.
A very generous $50. Thank you so much for that. The Wall, who says Kathleen Kennedy did not get where she is on merit. Got where she is by being first to try the casting couches in Hollywood before they were purchased. Can't be fired. She knows where all the skeletons are buried and on whose couches they were made.
That's not a bad way of putting it.
That's not at all. And we've heard from others that that blackmail thing is not completely without merit. Script, you were saying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, considering the fact that Kathleen Kennedy wasn't really on the talent side of things, the casting couches is not as frequent on that side as you'd expect. It's usually more like just do the job, and then if they're attractive, people kind of gravitate towards them, and other backroom deals happen already after the hiring has taken place.
It's hard not to.
You didn't see her epic performance in Temple of Doom as one of the dancers behind.
She was already in the industry by that point. The
I know.
I'm just all about breaking in.
No, but it's hard to argue the whole.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Paulie.
Oh, that was
a good joke, though.
My joke is done.
She made a lateral move from crew to background dancer.
Well, I was going to say it's really hard to kind of make the whole casting couch argument because, I mean, let's face it, she married Frank Miller, Frank Marshall.
Yeah. Frank Miller should be so lucky.
Yeah, right. No kidding. And in that, she didn't want Spielberg to know for some reason. And it kind of is marrying into the business because he was the big producer at that time. And again, if you go and you get into like any of their unauthorized biographies or some of the biographies, these guys all were part of like this little clique or clique, however you say it, back in the day. They actually even had a name for them. I can't remember what it was called. It was like the East Coast Mafia or something like that, or West Coast Mafia. I can't remember. Fuck it was. But they had this little name for them and everything. And it had everybody from George Lucas to Francis Ford. Francis Ford Coppola was kind of like the godfather of the group. And I'm not even being punny with that. He literally was. And like, so you had all these kids hanging out, a bunch of hippies basically. And that's how, George met Marcia, and, how half these people met each other. Yep. So they were just kind of like a bunch of friends, wine buddies, basically.
And I'm pretty sure the reason Kathleen Kennedy didn't want Spielberg to know that she was in a relationship with Frank is so that she could hold on to her position, because we've heard we've heard that one, but there's also other recordings and other instances where Spielberg says that Kathleen Kennedy was not really the best at what she was doing, and probably her time was up, and the only way she was being kept around is because of her relationship with Frank Marshall. And
this is something that I have heard very consistently. That basically is that what's Frank Marshall was the one that petitioned to Spielberg, like let's keep this woman around. Like I'll make it worth your while, but I want to keep her around for my own reasons. And they ended up marrying.
Genuinely liked her.
I wonder if Frank, is that true?
Boy, was I dummy. Man, let me tell you something. When you ain't had none for a while and you get some and you like think the world's revolved around that, let me tell you. And it ain't. It ain't. When you have more options, oh shit. What did I do in my life?
You made Congo, that's what.
Oh yeah, I did make that was pretty kick ass. Frank Marshall, folks, making a quick cameo. All right, speaking of, let's get into this. So yeah, we had did this video last night because it was brought to my attention by Thundercats Ho that Bill Burr had spoke out again on his podcast about this situation. I speak out the term, I guess, kind of loosely here, but
he addressed it kind of.
Because it was kind of brought up.
Paid lip service.
Yeah, he didn't volunteer it. Let's say. Yeah, he probably was hoping the conversation wouldn't even go there.
Well, I'm even willing to give. I'm willing to put money on that, because the way this video was edited after the fact, as we pointed out in our video last night, it was clear that Bill was not comfortable talking about it. He made his statements of what he was going to say about it, and then it's like let's cut this conversation off, and he literally goes to a cut at one point, like it cuts off abruptly, goes to an advertisement. And then comes back, and they're talking about something completely different. So it's like, okay, there's either parts of this missing, or he's like, yeah, we're getting too in the weeds here, and I can't talk about it. I don't think any contracts are signed for the next season, though, because that was what I was told from our people before Gina was even fired, quote unquote, in quotations, because that's where we said, well, yeah, of course they said that the contract, they don't have a contract with her right now, so she never really, she's not even really technically hired.
Yeah, they're all between contracts, which is not very promising for Mando season 3.
Yep. Yeah, I think Pedro Pascal's the only one that's got a 4-year on him. But
I'm just amazed we have people, though. Tom, when did we get people? Tom, hello.
We've had people, Rob. They just don't talk to you because they know you'll blab everything.
Oh, that's right. Okay, moving on.
You're worse than Tom Holland.
I am. Oh, darn.
That was a very awesome Spider-Man 3 name reveal teaser, I have to say.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was.
And we have one of our toxic femmes with us right now, Miss Mary Mayhem. How are you doing?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Doing well.
Yeah, I was taking a look at this earlier. Lord love a duck.
Yeah, did you have a chance to watch the video we put out yet?
Oh, yeah, it was one of the first things I did this morning whenever I woke up.
So we can have your take on it. But yeah, Tom, carry on with the story.
But yeah, so this was brought to my attention, and we're listening to it. Rob and I watched it, and we're just like, I mean, this is one of the few times we're just like, I mean, we got to kind of let him speak for himself here. We don't want to interject too much. We don't want to, editorialize it too much. We just want to let it be.
Because this is one where everything is in the body language.
Yeah, and I mean, we did cut through it a little bit, obviously for timing and to make it a bit transitional and whatnot. And there was bits that we didn't necessarily want out, like where he says certain words and stuff that the YouTube bots don't like, and other people said words the YouTube bots don't like. So we tried to work around certain things, but we tried to present it as best we could without it being, out of context. And I think we did a good job with that. And I mean, Bill's clearly affected by this, because prior to this, right after it happened, this is something we didn't have in this video. I wish we had, but we put it together so quickly. But he had brought it up. He didn't name anybody by name, but it was right after Gina was fired. He said, "Cancel culture got another one of my friends," and I'm just, I'm hurt. I'm upset, and I'm sick and tired of this kind of stuff. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but just a quick quote about it. I mean, he talked about for a minute, and that was it. And then, as I was saying, like they were talking about cancel culture and other things unrelated to Gina, and Joe DeRosa brings up Gina. I don't know if we want to watch a little bit of a clip here, Andre. Or
yeah, let's watch a little bit of the clip.
Does he lose his tour?
Well, that's the thing. There's all this press right now about Timberlake lost nothing, but Britney Spears lost it. And it's like, Britney Spears didn't lose anything. Well,
even that is up for debate when they talk about that, because they're like, who made her crazy?
I'm out. This is just like, I swear to God, they're going to go back into history, and anything that a woman did, they're going to make a guy's fault. I wonder if do you think in like 10, 15 years, they're going to look back at a couple of these Me Too cases? The bad date ones? Being like, should we have treated that person like Harvey Weinstein or whatever?
They absolutely, Bill, I keep saying, I was saying it the other day about Gina Carraro or whatever her name is. It's like, look, you can say that her tweet was stupid or clumsy or whatever, but the reaction to it to me was so crazy that I was like, guys, this is going to be a thing that you look back on. And the example for that is, everybody said George W. Bush was the devil. If you in any way supported him or liked him or whatever, you were the devil. There was something wrong with you. You were a racist. You were this, you were that. That fucking guy is on the talk show circuit now. He goes on Kimmel and he kicks back and he gets applause breaks. And everybody goes, he's kind of cute. Remember how dumb he was? Whatever. And they're going to be doing that with half of these canceled people and going, shit, man, sorry about that. Sorry about the last date. It's like a guy in jail for marijuana sales right now in L.A. You know what I mean?
I just saw Pee Wee Herman on the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They ruined Pee Wee, dude.
And he was jerking off where you're supposed to jerk off. What was he offending those other fucking people jerking off?
Remember that?
Those local cops saw a big score. That's what they saw.
Oh God!
Yeah, see, he keeps trying to. And what we cut through here is he kept talking about other things.
Yeah,
I have.
Notice how he tries to constantly shift the conversation away from Carano, which obviously he's very well aware is dangerous, touchy subject. No, let's not get too much into that.
Yeah, the tiptoeing and sort of you can literally read, I feel like I'm skating on thin ice right now, of his posturing and his body language. He just wants out of this conversation as fast as possible.
And we actually cut through it, and that's what I was, and that's part of the reason I left some of this stuff in there is to show, he doesn't want to talk. I mean, he does, it bothers him, but he's trying to jump onto other things. He jumps to the Pee Wee thing, he jumps to other things, and like Ojiro Star, he's kind of deflecting. I wouldn't specifically call it direct deflecting, I guess is a bad word because it's almost oxymoronic, but like he is in a way. It's like I'm just kind of going off of what I see here, but that's what I'm getting from it is he's like totally like, I can't talk about this. Like just the look on his face when he said Gina Carano's name. was just
And
like,
the funny thing is that he
though.
wasn't like this in the rest of the podcast, because
Right.
yeah, Tom, as you say, we only show highlights here, which are masterfully edited by Tom. But if we had put even more, you would have seen he wasn't like this on the other topics. He didn't display this level of discomfort. They didn't hit so close to home.
Yeah, see, that's the crazy thing about Bill Burr, though, is Bill Burr is he's not a shy away from the hard
Right.
topics kind of guy, right? Like Bill Burr's a hard-hitting, opinionated, just hilarious kind of guy who has no problem getting into the uncomfortable areas and getting into it, right? I've never seen him shy away. I've never seen his body language read so concerned before. And this was actually really interesting to watch because I'm not like a super hardcore fan of Bill Burr, but you could call me a fan of Bill Burr. I've seen a lot of his stand-up specials. I've seen him. I just love his work. I think he's a generally hilarious guy, and he's also a ballsy kind of guy. And to see him just 180 in terms of his physical demeanor during this conversation was bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre to watch.
And I
He
think
was the bomb in the racial draft.
And I think the other thing that needs to be pointed out here is his guest and co-host. Well, obviously his co-host doesn't watch the fucking show because he knows
one
he's on
episode
the
he was
Star
in
Wars.
on the second season. Yeah,
he knows he's in the Star Wars, but he's completely oblivious to the fact that Gina Carano is on the exact same show that he's on. And the moment when certain things kind of come together in the interview are just kind of funny. So you can kind of tell why Burr's kind of on the spot here, because he knows first of all, he doesn't want to embarrass himself by saying, look, guys, I'm on the fucking show, they should know this already. And just kind of the way they kind of play it out here is kind of funny, but you can still see it in Burr's reactions to everything. So let's go a little bit more forward unless anybody else has anything to add for now. No? All right.
No,
unless you did some truly horrible shit. I mean,
If you hurt someone, I don't have time for you. But if we're talking about words, like even bad words, I'm like, come on, man. I mean,
no, I wouldn't say that. No, if you're just saying overtly racist shit, yeah.
Oh, no,
if you make like a bad comparison,
yeah.
If you come off like
Yeah,
Joe trying
see,
to find
he
where
stopped
Atlanta
there.
is compared to New York,
Trying to change the subject again.
that's not like, homophobic. That's just ignorant.
What did Carano say?
At the same time,
He said-
trying to defend
he
her.
said that
Yeah, because that's where I think he was talking about with, saying a bad comparison. He's clearly talking about her.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She goes in 1940s Germany. I'm paraphrasing, but she said in 1940s
Which is always
Germany.
a good thing to do on something like this, Joe. By all means, let's hear your take on the tweet.
And I think when he said that, I think and you can tell just by and again, I'm just assuming this stuff going by what I'm seeing. So guys, I'm not trying to feed into this or anything. I hope you all have seen the video ahead of this and made your own, decisions on this. But I feel like when he says that, that's something that, like, when I say, even when I'm joking, because I have kind of a similar humor to Bill Burr, like there's some truth behind it though. Like, he's like, yeah, I've seen all these people interpret this fucking tweet in so many fucking lovely ways. Let's hear your fucking interpretation of this. Because I've heard 1,000,001 interpretations that are wrong. That's the kind of attitude I hear behind Bill Burr's voice there in that joke. Because that's kind of how I joke. I mean, do you guys get that out of it, or is that just me?
Well, it's a little bit of you, and it's also a little bit to the fact that he's like saying the thing that everybody should be saying is, yes, let's paraphrase, or let's only use a casual recall of what was actually happened, as opposed to looking directly at what those words or what that context was. Like, he's saying, don't make the effort. That's his sarcasm right there. It's like, yeah, don't make the effort to actually be accurate here. Just say what you felt at the time. And he's making fun of that. And that's actually a very appropriate way to address a casually interpretation of something that affected another person's life severely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nobody else? All right.
And not to incur the wrath of the YouTube gods, we will jump ahead to Bill Burr's response.
That's the same reduction of circumstance.
It's then that Burr's demeanor goes from jovial to serious and almost dour, and his entire body language changes.
What you're saying, Joe, is she should have compared it to slavery, and it would have been better.
Look at how uncomfortable he's like, trying not to laugh.
No, he can't believe he's in this position. That's what it is.
Whatever.
Exactly. Exactly.
Place that we're in, where there's no room for discussion about anything, and even
because there's too many channels, Joe. Too
it's
many
just
channels,
wild.
and then you gotta like do sensational shit. I don't know what the fuck it is. I mean, I'm on that fucking show now. I gotta watch what the fuck I say.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he literally spits it out there.
Yeah, those are the magic words, and that's because he knows. He knows.
Look at how he moves back when he says
people
that.
are out to get him.
And
That's
I'm reading a lot
of
into this. I'm putting my couple years of psychology into this, and I'm reading into this. Look at his body language. He pulls back all the time when he talks about certain things like this. And just when he's talking about channels, when he's talking about too many channels, I don't think he's talking about like YouTube channels. He's talking about like different channels you have to go through to deal with
900. The 900. Well, I thought he was talking about the 900 television channels.
No, I didn't think he meant that. No, I think he meant the channels you have to deal with in Hollywood, but I could be wrong. That was my interpretation of that. But that's not even that important to the conversation. Like, again, the big thing is like he just said here, I got to even watch what the fuck I say, because I know I'm being watched.
Yeah, and I do tend to agree with the notion that he probably knows he's on the chopping block, just like everybody in the Favreau camp does now, right? Because of all of the nonsense that's going down in the Kennedy camp. But they're, what did you guys use it? The term "useful idiots" on Twitter it's such a great term to use. Like, these people have no idea how essentially just puppeted they're being right now. They're being puppeted to accomplish the tasks of, I suppose, like-minded fools at the top of Lucasfilm.
I mean, if that's the case, then why didn't they just say before their own podcast, don't bring it up?
I don't think he expected it to get there.
Yeah.
Because I did, I had to edit a lot out. Like, this conversation spans over almost like 10 minutes. And what happens is they start in a place that has nothing to do with this. And the other guy brings it there. And that's where you can tell, like, Bill keeps trying to deflect it to other things. He starts talking about Pee-wee. He talks about George Bush. He talks about anything but Gina Carano.
This was a live podcast?
No, it wasn't actually. So that's the thing is, so he left in what he felt was okay. And then when we get to a point here, it cuts off. He like literally chops it off.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's like the way we'll get to it here because it's actually getting around to it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that show. Everybody.
What show is she on? What show is she on?
The Mandalorian.
The Star Wars, yeah.
I did not know that.
His own action figure.
That's
no
how
idea.
deep
Cancel culture is. They canceled her action figure. It's like, let the action figure come out. I mean, I don't understand.
Did she ever pony up to you, Bill? I'm like, Bill, I got a few ideas I think that you'll like.
No, she was an absolute sweetheart.
Yeah.
Super nice fucking person, and whatever. And somehow someone will take this video and they'll fucking make me say something else. And
he had to cover his ass right here.
Get rid of my bald action figure.
The notion that he had to cover his ass.
No,
right there.
No, you fucking nerds.
Oh, if you get one, dude, I'm buying it.
But that's exactly what Lucasfilm didn't want to hear. She was an absolute sweetheart.
Exactly.
They don't want to hear that.
Well, and you were saying something, Mary.
No, it was him covering his own ass right there, where he's like, oh, they're gonna take this. Like, it occurred to him as soon as he acknowledged that Gina Carano is a sweetheart, that she's a doll. Oh God, now I'm gonna be lumped in with this titled bigot, right? That's what they're gonna do.
I think the funny thing is of all the shit that Bill Burr's ever said, ever done, that'll probably be the thing they hang on him, is that he supports her. He did not denounce her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're going to do. They're going to say, well, he obviously, sympathizes with her, so he must be on her side, and that means he must be one of them. That's what they're going to use, and that's what they do. That's how they do this shit. That's how they got Gina. I wish I would have screen capped that damn tweet. There was a journalist who said, we've been looking for something for 2 months. We finally got it. It's like, yeah, this is exactly what they've been doing. They've been sifting through this stuff. They've been waiting in the wings. and they even bring it up here. That's where the conversation goes from here, and you can definitely tell that he knows he's being watched. He knows this shit's coming at him. And maybe not him directly, but he knows it's out there, and he's on that list.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh,
So
honestly, I can't like.
You were gonna say, Andre? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, you can absolutely like. He has the body language and the general like demeanor of someone that knows that they're being watched and who knows that right now in this moment they are on very, very thin ice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? We did not put this in here. What the hell?
Oh, it is out there.
That is not where our ad is.
They just like there's just people just waiting, just laying in the weeds.
It really is, man. You think there is a group of people, like a type of person out there reading the trades and then going, Joe DeRosa signs a 6-figure deal. All right, let's deep dig him, find out what he did wrong, and that's how I spend my day.
Absolutely. Let's show that he's human and he's made a mistake in his past, and let's take that dream away. I don't know how it works.
Burr then attempts to change the subject, but does clearly show that he has valid concerns about this.
Who's about to break? I guarantee you, there's people lying in wait like that and just saying, this guy's starting to rise a little bit. You know, let me just dig a few things up. It's got to be. I mean, this shit comes out so fucking fast. It's crazy.
It is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
How about you just be an individual and you continue to buy tickets to people that you want to go see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just sort of fucking, because that's one of the things that's weird to me is a few people that have like they go back out on tour and then like they're gonna sell out and people want to go see him, and then the people who don't want to see him don't even want to let the people that still want to see him or her see him. Then it just becomes like I'm sitting there could say my thing about that is how do you hold up you judging somebody that harshly about, because I'm not talking about like the hardcore shit. I'm just talking about because now it's becoming like, hey, you made an ignorant comparison. There goes your dream, right?
Right.
I'm like, I look at that. It's like, who the fuck stands up to that?
That's a great quote right there, because that to me tells us where Burr's at. How can you stand up to something like that? And Rob, you always bring up the quote. Well, when did you stop beating your wife?
Yeah. First question for $50. When have you stopped beating your wife? Yes or no?
Yeah. See, that you're kind of stuck in this position. You can't defend yourself. And welcome, Andy. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I got so excited to talk about this one. Oh,
I'm assuming you're up to speed at least to this.
Yeah, I just posted it because I posted a video. I was going to try and cover this too. But yeah, he's so nervous. And the fact that we have to live in a world where Bill Burr can't talk about this is terrifying to me. Like, he is one of the most sanest, rightest minds there are. And also, I think a lot of people don't even realize he's more liberal than I think more people want to give him credit. And has a black wife, like, checks all the boxes that the community would want. And he can't speak. Like, this is the world we're creating where he can't even speak. He starts speaking positively about Gina, and you can immediately tell he stops himself. Like, it is just an eye-opening, disgusting world that Bill Burr, who shouldn't be afraid, like, he should have a support of fans and everything. That's like, who cares? He could say whatever the hell he wants and he'll have the fans. And it's just the fact that he's afraid terrifies me. Like, this is the world we're in.
That's the crazy thing about it, though, is that he tends to align more with that liberal leftish side, right, in terms of ideology. So you would think he would be safe, but no, God forbid he have a rational, middle-of-the-road opinion on this cancel culture stuff, because that lines him up to be canceled, right? It is tout the line, tout the full line, nothing less, or get the hell out, right? There's no middle ground for this. There's no somewhere in between. None of that. There's no rational, like, hold on a second, guys, let's just think about this for a second. You can't do that, because if you do, you're the next on the chopping block.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well,
And,
I don't think he really even says his he doesn't really talk politics. Like he sort of keeps it to himself, but sometimes it seeps into his stand-up. I
was gonna say, yeah, he gives it away in his stand-up from time to time.
But it's like, he's a comedian. He says what he wants. He sort of says it is what it is. I don't think I know a lot of conservatives and liberals who do enjoy him because I think he sort of toes the line and sort of tries to be respectful of everybody. He's like a working class guy. And so I think that's why he's so many people he appeals to so many people. And so to see that he, of all people now, is scared to talk about it. And it's also telling because it's, to me, when I was watching this, it's clear he's still in bed with Star Wars. Like he's trying to get more Star Wars. Like he doesn't know about the figure. He says, I don't know if you got that part. He doesn't know if he's, I'm still, it's clear now with Gina gone. I bet you they're trying to figure out, do they get him involved? Because I think if they brought Bill into that New Republic show, it's an attempt to make good where people are like, oh, well, I miss Gina, but oh my God, I love Bill Burr. You know what I mean? Like if Disney was wise, that is one thing you could do to try and, get some people back. But I don't know, man, the fact that he couldn't talk about it is really scary.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not going back. I put out a tweet a couple of weeks ago after this happened. I was like, look, this is that moment where, and I'm not telling people what to do. Like you do according to your own conscience, right? But if you were one of those people who, like me, said, no, #cancel Disney Plus, you need to stick to your guns here. So when the cool shit comes out, right, and you start to feel yourself wavering a little bit, you need to decide what is important to you, what matters to you, right? Are you going to speak with your wallet or not? And I don't care either way. Like you people are grown, you make your own choices, but don't say something and then not back it up. So I'm not going back. I don't care what they do with the show.
You were a Disney nerd too. Wow.
I am.
I have kids. I can't do it.
I mean, Andy, let me know what you need later. Shoot me a message and I can help you out.
I don't pay for it if that's what you mean.
Oh, okay.
I get all the screener access and everything else, and I don't know how I do it. But there's ways to use Disney Plus. There are ways to do it.
But yeah, so there isn't really much left to this. So we might as well just finish it up, and then we can all kind of powwow about it here. So
yeah,
I mean, dude, it's a great question, and the brutal part of it is,
Joe, every once in a while you see a compliment my way. I appreciate it.
The problem isn't the first part of that. The problem is it's not just go buy tickets to you want to go see. Of course, obviously. The problem is they go into the Yelp reviews of the venues and they try to get the venues shut down.
Can we just talk about something else? Who gives a fuck, Joe? Let's talk about taste buds. Jesus Christ, we're sitting here talking about Britney Spears and fucking Janet Jackson.
Burr then abruptly ends the conversation and then goes to a jump cut for an advertisement and then resumes the discussion on a completely different topic.
Russia is the world's largest country.
Yeah, Bill's like, why are you giving him ideas, Joe? Come on. We can't talk
about it.
Yeah,
he's like, let's talk about anything else but this at this point. Like, and he did, because he kept trying to detour the conversation without completely derailing it. And again, I know coming from, the point of view where he's at, I've been in, we've been on these live streams. You get in an uncomfortable conversation. Andy, I know you almost have shows where you kind of do this for the show. It's kind of the point of the show.
Correct.
But you have to find a way to, steer things off of a certain subject and maybe keep it on topic at the same time. And it's a dance. And Bill had enough of the dance. He's like, fuck this. Let's talk about anything else, including taste buds for my, he could have said anything at that point is what he's saying. He's just like, let's talk about anything else but this, because I'm going to get myself too deep in the weeds here. And that's probably what he said right after the cut there. He's like, guys, I can't fucking talk about this. I can't. It's getting too close to home.
I think would be the spiciest part of the entire conversation would be what he told those guys that we didn't see
after, right?
But I'm curious, because what was telling to me is like, why didn't they know? Like, it just felt like maybe they don't talk. Like, I'm shocked because I know Bill clearly talks about it. Like, he made those veil, like, sort of like, well, when you make a comparison, like it seemed like he was calling Gina out. Like, you made a stupid comparison. And that's the one critique I've given her too. Like, if you want to work for Disney, you got to know that sort of that you can't compare things to the Holocaust. It sort of just like comes with working for Disney if you want to work for Disney. And most people say it was a silly comparison. You could see I felt like he was sort of jabbing, but then he also was like, look, she was a sweet person. Like, you could tell he doesn't think what happened was warranted, but you felt like he was trying to play the sides. It was just, it was such an awkward line walk. that he was clearly
Well,
doing the whole topic.
Did it not feel somewhat reminiscent of like with the Chris Pratt thing, like when everybody went to bat for Chris Pratt, except the difference here is I think that there's a different air around the Jon Favreau Lucasfilm camp stuff, right? Like they all probably feel very vulnerable knowing that they're not all on the same team, right? That there's this division within Lucasfilm itself, and if everything that is being speculated on in the Midnight's Edge videos, right, where there's this sort of push to try to make Jon Favreau's camp and all that's coming out of that look bad and essentially get it summarily just dismissed. He can't go to bat for her the way that the rest of the Avengers did for Chris Pratt, right? Like you could tell he kind of wanted to. Like everybody came to bat for Chris Pratt. He's such a good guy. This is a sweetheart. How can you think these things about him? How can you, like, we know better. We've interacted with him as a human being. You could tell he wanted to, and then he was like, but if I do, they're going to spin my words. He literally said, if now the people are going to take this and spin it, and he couldn't follow through with it because of that.
Well, you know what else?
I wanted to echo the comments. Guys, I said it's a bad comparison if you want to work for Disney, is what I said. If you want to work for Disney, you can't make comparisons to the Holocaust about anything because Disney clearly will let you go. That's
not for Pedro Pascal.
I was going to say, I think
that's it
doesn't matter the comparison. It matters the ideology.
So that's not true right there. But if the
difference is
someone there is gunning for you and you make it, they will use that excuse.
Yeah, and I'm not jumping.
They'll let it slide.
The difference.
Pedro Pascal.
The difference is though. I mean, who runs Marvel Studios? Kevin Feige. Who runs Lucasfilm? Kathleen Kennedy. Oh, don't you dare disagree with a woman. Oh my God, what are you, some sort of misogynistic, woman-hating, sexist piece of shit?
No, and that's the thing, Andy, is I think a lot of people's problems too isn't even so much the fact that Disney fired her. It was the fact that she got fired and all these other people didn't. It's like, and I think
I was just trying to clarify. Like I've made
no, and I know.
On Team Gina, and I Pedro. The double standard of Pedro is ridiculous. I was just trying to say.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, we understand.
If you are conservative and you compare the Holocaust, you will. It seems pretty obvious.
If Pedro had said it, it would have been perfectly fine. There would have been no blowback whatsoever. So this is like someone waiting to pounce. But I agree with you in principle, because you have like a rule, but how strictly is that rule enforced? That depends entirely on how much they like you. So if Pedro had said the same thing and he said something a million times worse,
he did. Pedro actually misrepresented actual historic, like he put up a picture of kids in Palestine that were going to like a soup kitchen and portrayed it as the border for America, right? He
called all Trump supporters Nazis. Like I think that's worse than Gina did.
But the other thing though is now is that because Gina's a woman, a quote unquote conservative woman, I don't know what her
she's
exactly
politically ambiguous right now.
Politically ambiguous.
That's a difficulty.
Kathleen Kennedy can brand her a traitor to the cause. That's the thing. Her ass is covered. She weeds out an undesirable, and she comes out smelling like a rose on this. Not so much now that you've gone against the fans. That's the thing. They needed someone. She needed someone. So, like Monty Python, a witch, banner. So, and they think they found it, but the villagers aren't exactly happy right now.
God, that's fucking creepy.
Engage the Karen drive.
Oh, great movie.
Fucking creepy.
But no, it really boils down to.
Did you get that? Did you think Bill was trying to call out her comparison? Is why I brought that up?
No, he's probably just using the talking points in order to get off the topic. Like he's uncomfortable, but he's don't play into this hyperbole that he's petrified or completely off his kilter. He knows how to do this. He's a stand-up comic. He gets heckled constantly. He knows how to turn the room to his direction, and he's doing it with two other comics. And he's having a little bit of difficulty because they all know the same tactics. Some of them want to talk on this one subject because they have a point. Others don't, specifically Bill Burr, because number one, he doesn't care. He cares about the people he works with. He doesn't really care much about the show. He only cares about the repercussions that happen of that. And his body language, he's adjusting himself in his seat like any normal person would. But he does, it's his facial expressions that are more telling. He's disinterested in that topic. He doesn't want to talk about it.
That to me showed he was terrified about the topic because he doesn't want to.
That's your conjecture. That's your conjecture, yeah.
I as much as he may not care about the Mandalorian, and he's made no bones about that. He's not a Star Wars nerd. He thinks they're geeks. He thinks they're nerds. He thinks they're weird.
He's been in 2 episodes, yeah.
Right, but as much as he's been very frank about that, he may not care about the Mandalorian. What he does care about is working in Hollywood again in the future. He does care about being able to continue to have a damn job. I'm sure of that. And it isn't just the Mandalorian that Gina was canceled off of. She's blacklisted. She's over at the Daily Wire now. Oh God. Like that's the terrible pit, black hole Sarlacc pit that you could have to go to, right? Because no one mainstream is going to see you over there, right? You're catering to a very specific demographic at that point. And I don't believe for 2 seconds that Bill Burr wants to wind up over there with Ben Shapiro. And I'm not saying Ben Shapiro's a bad guy. He's not my cup of tea per se, but like nobody wants to wind up that far on one side of the spectrum, that far shoved into a corner. Bill Burr may not care about the Mandalorian, but he does care about having a job.
Well, and we got a situation here where, look, you got a lot of people in different statuses. Bill Burr is like, at a certain level where Gina is different because Gina already was she was an athlete. Then she became an actress, and a whole nother level to her besides the fact that she obviously has a bit of a windfall to fall back on with a family that has money, according to, the Hollywood, it was Hollywood Reporter, right? Or was it Deadline? Put that out. I can't remember now. Whichever one put out the hit piece. I can't remember.
My thing is that, listen, Gina Carano.
The hit piece was the Hollywood Reporter.
Okay. Yeah. My point was then is that the whole thing is she's in a different position than a lot of other people. She could afford to say, fuck you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. And again, like we were just saying, they were trying to cancel her. Like Mary was saying, like her going over to Shapiro, she did that because she could.
Yeah.
It doubled the piss off as far as the Twitter stands and all the other people at Lucasfilm that were trying to get her completely shut down.
Right.
But what it did though is she's got that ability to say fuck you, and she could open this door for a lot of things. Bill Burr is not somebody in that position. Yeah, he's a popular comedian, but he's nowhere near the status of somebody like Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, he didn't go run around in fucking Deadpool 2
exactly,
and make a blockbuster,
he's still doing podcasts with fucking Kevin Smith and shit. Yeah.
Don't stand up to the highest in there, because Bill Burr can make a lot of money on tours. That's where he makes most of his money anyway. Yeah. He doesn't need the film side of things. He likes the film side of things. But
you can tell when that last part he's talking, he's like, people will try and get the venue shut down and all that shit. He knows this is going to affect him.
8 years.
Exactly. He knows this could affect him beyond Star Wars, and that's what he's worried about. And you were going to say something, Paulie. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what I was going to speak on. If you remember yesterday, we interviewed this playwright, and he talked about writing for TV as opposed to writing for theater. One is the money's great, you're going after the money. The other one is you almost got to pay to do your art. And it's just, where are these? That's really where it's at. Is where are these entertainers at in their career? Like what Mary said, is he going to want it? Does he want to tour forever? That's a grueling life.
Mm-hmm.
That's a grueling life. And if he got a little lick, a little taste of that Disney money. Boy, he only did 2 episodes, like you said, Script. Man, that money's gravy.
That money's like $50K, man. Like,
that money is not a lot of money. Everyone keeps trying to say, "Oh, the Disney money was crap."
Compared to the gruel and grind of a tour, that's all I'm saying, Andy.
You make way more money on a tour.
Way more money. The pay to direct consumers that can support him,
but less work. But less work. You're on a set for like a day or two.
You memorize your set. You go.
Okay, one at a time.
Yeah, I'm just saying that
he makes way more money than Gina Carano makes. Absolutely.
No, I'm just saying that. It's what Mary said. It's the promise of working more in Hollywood. He'll take that perhaps more than the year grind of touring. Well, yes, you make more money. I'm just saying that.
No, you don't. Blacklisted, right? But either way, like the money set aside, it's clear he cares about being blacklisted. He's censoring himself here. Yeah, his own demeanor speaks volumes. We don't need to make conjecture. He's doing it himself here. He's conveying very clearly that he is uncomfortable, that he doesn't want to talk about this because he is worried about what that will mean for him down the road.
The other thing too is, you know what I was about to say. I was in Copenhagen in 2011, and actually I was walking down the street near the train station, and I saw a sign up on the post on a bulletin board, Bill Burr. You know, like October, or November 2nd or whatever it was. I don't know what they were charging, but at the same time, there comes a point in a comedian's career, they don't want to go on the road anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some guys like Lewis Black still do it. I mean, Pat Cooper still did it to a certain point when he was well into his 70s and 80s. But yeah, don't you think he would rather have a residency somewhere in Las Vegas or in Reno or somewhere, or Atlantic City or somewhere like that, somewhere he could just kind of just camp out, just chill and just go down and do 45 minutes 5 nights a week, 2 shows 5 nights a week. Yeah. And he knows that if, he's got to play his cards right here. He's very cognizant of what this means because they all travel in the same circles. Oh,
and you can argue. Yes, Rob, and you can arguably say that he was one of the brightest spot points of The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's in arguably the 2 best episodes.
He's the audience POV character, really.
One thing or another, he's also married to an actress, right? If I'm not mistaken. So he's also got to worry about his family as well.
Yeah.
And again, I think if anything, I hate to say it, he should have cut all this shit out of his podcast, and none of it should have been there. And the moment he said that she's a sweet person and all that kind of stuff, he solidified his place in this whole thing. Mm-hmm. So that means either he's not coming back and it don't fucking matter, or they're going to make sure his ass don't come back.
But why do that though? Why do you think I'm interested in what you just touched on there, Tom, which is that he solidified in his position. He should have just left it all out. Clearly he didn't want to leave it out. He wanted to leave that in there. You have to think that he probably does feel strongly about this. Like if they can cancel Gina, you better believe they can cancel me, a cis straight white male, right? Like if they can go after her, they can absolutely go after me. So why did he leave that in? It had to be because he feels like he doesn't want to just leave her to hang out and dry. So I think it's probably him trying to walk the line a little bit here to let her know, hey, you are not alone, but also I don't want to go down for you. I feel like that's probably maybe his own little way of trying to help, right? His own little way of saying maybe not necessarily take a stand, but to not just let it sit there and be okay either.
I think you're letting this get ahead of everybody. It's just a conversation he wasn't happy to do, and I think it should be left at that. The moment you start doing all the speculation stuff, you're doing exactly what he's tried to avoid when he said in that video, I don't want people taking this out of context or putting words in my mouth or doing anything. That's exactly what's going on right now.
But it's not to take it out of context to make it clear that he didn't want to talk about it, and that is being scared of. If you don't want to talk about a subject, you don't want to talk about it.
I mean, that's why we're here. I mean,
talk about it.
That's not necessarily fear-driven. It's not adding out of annoyance.
It's a clear point that he's afraid to talk about. Is that not true?
Now, someone
he also has a kid here in town. A working actress for a wife. She's not a star; she's a grinder. Yeah, man, he's circling his wagons. I don't know why he put this up. Now that's a great point, Tom.
I think Tom, you're spot on. And I think he's trying. And you're right, Mary. Like I said, he's walking the line because he needs to please them. And I think the comparison was a shot at Gina. And then I think he was trying to say, well, she's a great person, so he could plead that audience. He's trying to please 2 demographics, because if you think of beyond just even being canceled by Hollywood, I think he's more terrified of losing an audience. That's another whole thing. You guys, I see in the chat, I say one wrong thing about Gina and they hate me. And it's that's how we are so divided as a country right now. If you say the wrong thing, I'm canceling you. I'm not supporting your business. And his business model is more direct to people than it is Disney. And I think
what if he also doesn't know all the details to it and he doesn't want to talk based on that?
Well, I mean, I think it's a combination of it all. He just is playing it safe. He doesn't want to be caught pissing somebody off, whether it's Disney audience, half of his audience. And he's realizing this is a minefield that I just don't care enough about to walk in. I think is really what probably.
Isn't that crazy though that we make actors walk that kind of a line? Are people that fragile on both sides, right? That when you hear an opinion that doesn't line up perfectly with your own, you immediately decide that they are attacking you personally, not the thing that they were talking about, right? Like everybody needs to chill down just a little bit. Take that fragility, stop being so petty, relax a little bit. It's okay. It's not you. It's the thing we're talking about.
Now, someone said in the chat now, Jerry Seinfeld still tours. I'm like, but there's a difference between Bill Burr touring and Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld's on a way.
Come on.
Jerry's bored.
Well, not just that. It's like,
he has a week between. He has like 2 weeks, a week and a half, or 2 weeks between 10 days between dates. He gets flown everywhere first class, or private jets. He has 1,000 writers in his contract. Bill Burr's flying like economy class or business class.
No, he's not. Not Bill Burr. Bill Burr's not doing that.
Bill Burr does.
There are 200 or 300 stand-up comics that are more popular than Bill Burr that you would never hear about because they never had a TV show and they don't want one. The stand-up industry is crazy dense, and they all like to do the road stuff. They all like to do their tours.
They do, but my point is that it's a grind. It's different for somebody like Jerry Seinfeld or Jay Leno, who
it's
has
only as
the
much
kind
of a grind based on the stand-up comic. It's only as much of a grind as they make it out to be. Like Bill Burr's not the type of guy that's throwing his dress shirts in between mattresses at his hotel, before he has to go on a show.
No, and I wasn't even.
Yeah, but he had to work a long time to get to that, though.
And at this point in his life, he has an infant son, an infant child, and a working wife in town. I think that's what he's probably paying attention to the most right now, is what his wife thinks and what she's saying. Because this is now is not the time in Hollywood to unfortunately draw a line and take sides. I mean, it sucks. It sucks, man. Do you think he? Are you surprised then, Paulie? Why do you think he kept it in? Because I'm with you guys. Like this is such a risk for him. That why take that risk?
Well, he has a consistency of trying to be honest.
Yeah, I asked Tom that because I'm like, was this live? Like, like
that's part of it though, is that this isn't like it's not like he got his pants caught. It got caught with his pants down. And this is something that he had to deal with live and try to navigate live. No, he chose to leave this in. That in and of itself is something that you can make some measure of speculation on, right? Sure. And I'm not trying to put words in Bill Burr's mouth. He's a grown-ass man. He can speak for himself, right? But he's clearly worried about speaking for himself here. And so that it leads, just human nature is going to leave me sitting here scratching my head going, now, why would that be? So,
my big thing was, it wasn't even the stuff he left in there outside of him saying, that she was a sweetheart and all that kind of stuff and a wonderful person. There's nothing else in there that they could really go after him for. But what struck me more so was him trying to change the subject constantly. And then when the conversation abruptly ends and he's like, let's talk about any fucking thing else, and then the whole thing cuts. And then when they come back, it's something completely different, not even there. And like Andre said, I believe the most at least interesting part of that conversation took place right after that when he says that. And he's like, guys, I can't fucking talk about this. I'm willing to bet that's what he said. Mm-hmm. He's like, whether he's still under some kind of NDA or he's worried about, some kind of repercussions. I guarantee you whatever he left in there is what his agents and PR are like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like I guarantee you, because he could probably support Gina and get away with it. He's one of those at this point where he hasn't had anything in his past that they can really probably go after him for outside of his comedy. But then again, at what point does that become a detriment? We've had to sit there and watch Eddie Murphy apologize for jokes he made 40 fucking years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's also remember the context of this. Bill Burr worked with Gina Carano on one episode. That's around 5 shooting days. He probably has not enough information to even make an accurate comment. So there's also that to try to avoid. He doesn't want to say things he doesn't know the subject about. I mean, that's far more believable than him knowing all the gritty details and saying, I can't say anything. He's basically be more like, no, dude, I worked with her once on one episode out of a 2-season show that I had 2 episodes on. I don't know what the heck's going on there. I go in, I say my lines, I have my pleasant stuff, I leave. I have nothing to contribute or nothing to say about this. So why should I have to be forced to talk about it?
Is it? Oh, I'm sorry, Andy. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mary. Go ahead.
Well, are we sure that he only spent 5 days around? I mean, wouldn't there be like press junkets and all kinds of situations in which, I'm asking a question.
She wasn't in the press for season 2. She said that herself.
Neither was Bill Burr.
But like, wouldn't there be situations where they would find
No.
themselves around one another? I have to believe they would have spent more than just
Unless
5
there's a
days
D23
together.
or a.
Surprised. I agree with from a shooting perspective. She might have been there less with him. Granted, on how many shots they were actually in together.
Yeah,
correction,
2. Well, technically 3.
It could be much less. It could be a few more days, but I think at the end of the day. But I was going to say to respond though, we do know the details. I mean, he's clearly paying attention to the details and what happened to her on Twitter, and the firing.
He
like
knows
that
those details. I don't think he knows anything within the.
But he
Disney
knows the
sphere of
public
things.
details, right? And the public details are things that he would typically talk about. He has talked. I mean, and let's be fair, actually, to correct myself, he hasn't talked about a lot of his friends being canceled. Like he's avoided a lot of those topics when a lot of his closer friends have been pushed out. He sort of does clearly avoid that topic because I think he knows, well, I got to be careful what I say here because to my liberal base, I got to condemn these people. But at the same time, I don't actually agree with that. So I can't. He is in a tough spot that if you actually watch his previous sort of takes on things, he tries to avoid this topic. He talks broadly about cancel culture. He did it in SNL, et cetera. But correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he actually even really tries to tackle, personal cancellations like some other people do.
Probably because he doesn't have all the details. He only has what you can find on social media, and to him, it seems that that's not good enough to warrant a conversation.
Sometimes you don't need personal details to say, well, this seems excessive. Why did this person get fired? Right? Is that not fair commentary to offer?
It is, but it's also not poignant for him either to bring it up, because then it just starts this spiral conversation.
Correction, he has 2 children.
Yeah, and his wife is a writer, not an actress. I thought I recognized her though, so I must have seen her somewhere.
No, I got wife here. I got actress.
Is she an actress? I thought so too, but it's this guy saying he's a.
Well, she was an actress, but she has transitioned into writing. Okay. Yeah. So she did acting before.
I thought I recognized her in the name, but
yeah, she was in Fresh Prince in Bel Air. She was like Will Smith's love interest there.
That's why.
How long? That's like her.
I know her. Okay, yeah.
Everyone had a crush on her, even in Norway. So
no, you have the wrong woman. Nia Hill.
That's what I thought.
Nia Renee Hill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Completely different woman.
That's what I thought too. I was like, "What the fuck here?" And then never mind.
She's a writer. Anyway, she's someone in the industry.
Yeah.
I got a working actor here. Last credits. 2017, 2020. F is for Family.
Which is Bill's show. He has a TV show on Netflix.
Yeah, that's his other show. Like, yeah. So again, I've been saying he's not low level like comedian like you're talking, Rob, where he's got to do the grind, but he's not up there with
inside.
Like Dave Chappelle and all that shit. No, he's not a Chris Rock. He's not a Dave Chappelle. So
Chris Rock's barely doing anything right now. He's technically above Chris Rock. No, listen, Bill Burr is probably within your top 10 right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue.
That's pretty good.
He's very popular on his 20.
Yeah, he's clearly in there, but he's not like some of the big mainstream guys.
He's not Seinfeld.
What other big mainstream guys are like dominating the conversation aside from Dave Chappelle on stand-up?
See, here's the thing though. Stand-up guys, okay, he is one of those. He's a stand-up grinder. Okay, he will be a stand-up guy until the day he dies. Guys like Chris Rock and all that shit, they only do it when they want to go back. Like they used that as a stepping stone to get to Hollywood, right? Same thing with like Eddie Murphy, like those kind of guys. It was just a stepping stone to get where they really wanted. Jeff Dunham is like probably the #1 comedian right now. I'm willing to bet.
This guy?
What?
Yes. You want to make a bet?
Yeah.
Go look up his money. Go look up how much
Yeah.
money he fucking makes.
Yeah,
you wanna,
he is.
You want
He
to
is
argue
the highest paid stand-up
I bet
in
you
America right now.
I'm not even trying to argue. I'm just shocked and surprised by that. I'm like,
I guarantee you he's #1 because he was #1 for like 5 or 6 years.
Well, he got his Comedy Central show. He was also ridiculously popular in the 80s when he started out.
You're muted, Andy.
You're muted, Andy.
What do you think his net worth is? I'll scroll up in a second.
I have the highest paid.
What's your guess on his
comedians.
net? I mean, it's a celebrity net worth. I know the guy who runs this. It's actually more accurate than people want to admit, but it's not always accurate. But what do you guys think his net worth is?
Oh, Bill Burr, I'd probably say he's probably got about 50 million.
I have the list. I have the list of the highest paid comedians for 2019.
12.
Okay,
12 million.
12. All right.
What about Gina's?
Oh, Gina's worth a lot more than that because she's got family money. Though.
Oh my God! What?
Oh, that they're not counting her family money.
Yeah, but here's like the thing, though, that Gina, that may be what she has made on her own, but like she gives her dad a phone call and says, "Dad, I need 20 million. Can you wire it to me?" She has that disposable.
But the thing is,
well, didn't they go after her family and start painting?
Yeah, they did exactly.
Well,
but
I don't even
that's
think that was
the reason why she's in a way like uncancelable, because like she's worth more as it is right now than any of us will ever earn in 10 lifetimes.
Well, not just that.
But beyond that, she has the family fortune to fall back on.
And I don't even know if that article was so much a hit piece as it was a look. She's a pretty princess. She'll be fine. She's not really canceled. See that? Because remember their whole narrative.
Sorry,
that's
Aziz Ansari is freaking is one of the top 10 earning comedians.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Kevin Hart, Jerry Seinfeld, Jim Gaffigan, Trevor Noah. Well, okay, come on. You have to do something funny to be a comedian.
He's just up there because of the Daily Show, probably.
Sebastian Maniscalco? Who the fuck is that?
Well, and I just want to bring this up because Cavattino brings up, when Bill Burr went on SNL, he busted his ass to get on there, and he's brought that up a few times about how much that meant to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Like that was now that's the thing. Bill Burr is a grinder. He loves the stand-up circuit. He'll do it until the day he dies. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like it doesn't really matter what he's making on it to him. That's
let's be clear. When you're that level out of a stand-up, you make a lot. And you can make a lot selling demand, your specials, like it's a lot of money, which is more than what Disney pays for a couple episodes of Mandalorian.
Considering how many Netflix specials he has, though, I can't believe he hasn't made more. That means he's not making nearly as much as I thought he was.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, we have to differentiate between what a comedian like Jerry Seinfeld or Bill Burr, someone who does primarily stand up and earns their living with stand up, and someone who does other things, like host a TV show. I mean, that's the thing. The guys who actually make money by going on the road and doing comedy albums, as opposed to, again, like someone like. Do
you know who the number one comedian was for like the 90s for like almost 10 years straight? Y'all won't guess.
It was
Martin
like Brian
Lawrence.
Regan, wasn't it?
Jeff Foxworthy.
Oh, that's right. He was huge.
And let's not forget Jeff Dunham, also hugely popular.
And he came in next. He was the next one, and that's where I said I wouldn't be surprised if he still isn't. He was making so much bank. It's not even motherfucker. And Jeff Dunham has the original '89 Batmobile. That's how rich that motherfucker is.
Wow, you sound salty.
Yes.
I'm still trying to figure out who Sebastian Maniscalco is.
He's been around forever. He's friends with Jerry. I think he's opened for Jerry a bunch, and that got him some notoriety. But he's
Sebastian. I want to give you a part of my show. What's going on?
He's like an Italian comic that's been doing the grind for a long time.
And speaking of Seinfeld, didn't he get paid like $100 million for his last Netflix special or HBO special, whatever it was?
Yeah. Like an obscene amount of money.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's the one where he's driving around the car.
Yeah. He doesn't even need more money.
That's just his TV show. God knows what he makes for that. Like, that was the one that he started on Crackle, and then Netflix picked it up. Because when
Driving with
decided,
coffee with comics.
Driving with comics.
Yeah, it's coffee, comics,
Driving in cars with coffee.
Cars with comics.
That's it.
Coffee and cars with comics.
Okay, yeah, we know the elements.
Yeah,
I like the Eddie Murphy.
It's all there.
I
Yeah,
saw
the Eddie
that.
Murphy one was still the best
We're
one.
driving in
I
LA.
liked that show. I'm not even big into like the whole comic aspect of things. Like I'll watch it where it exists and where it finds me. But that show was fun as hell. I'm not even like a car girl, and I was like, oh, that's a pretty car.
Yeah. Mr. Tickle Trunk says Sebastian was Crazy Joey Gallo in The Irishman. Okay, I didn't see The Irishman. I know the story of Crazy Joey, but I don't,
The Irishman's really good, dude.
No relation. By the way.
Sebastian's actually pretty funny. He's like, as someone said, he's like more of a regular. He's been doing that grind, and a lot of regular people just have grown to like him and watch him. And he hasn't really had a huge hit show yet. I think he had Sebastian was a show at one point that didn't take off, but he is a popular comedian.
I'm wondering if the story made it into the Irishman about Don Rickles and his mother. Don Rickles said his mother, Jewish mother, very scary lady. He was sitting at a table with Joey Gallo and his henchmen, and she goes, "Nobody talks to my son unless they put the guns on the table." And just, Mom, what are you doing? You're gonna get me killed. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Nobody talks to my son unless they put their guns on, and they all reach into their jackets. They put their guns on the table.
I don't think that's in the movie.
Everything else is in the movie.
He goes, but
So
I
long,
said when I
that
heard
movie.
when I heard Rickles tell that story, I said that's an Italian thing. He says you listen to your mother, and when your mother's not around, and someone else's mother is there, you listen to her. That's a very Italian kind of thing.
No, I don't think Bill Burr, like that Seller Dory just pointed out, I don't think he's one of those type of comedians who's real worried about jumping into acting and shit. I think he's happy where he's at. And I'm sure he makes plenty of money for what he's doing. But I'm sure he's more worried about the people in his life. He sure, if he ends his career tomorrow, he'd probably be okay for the rest of his life. But that's just it. It's not so much that this cancel culture thing just ends your career tomorrow. They try to go after you in every aspect, in every way, in every angle, and try to shut you down. Like, I've heard stories about where people in certain towns where they've been canceled, they can't even go into a store and buy anything.
Yeah.
Like, and I know it's technically illegal, but what are you supposed to do? Like, I mean, especially when you're somebody who's not a Bill Burr, who's not a Gina Carano, who's not, somebody famous, when you don't really have a huge voice.
Give you an idea how much guys make. Tom, how much do you think Penn and Teller make from just doing shows 5 nights a week at the Rio?
Oh, they make a shit ton, probably.
They make $30 million a year.
Yeah, but but regardless of how much they earn, in terms of going after someone who doesn't necessarily have that big a voice. I mean, Andy, this is something that you would know something about, and how awful and detrimental that is.
Well, I mean, because I always think of the best example to talk about is Louis C.K. Because it's like, is Louis C.K. really canceled? No, he can go do stand up and he's done. He's doing it again, right? And even Bill, I think, is acknowledging the fact that he can, but he'll never live it down. He'll never live it down for his kids and everything else. And it's like he's apologized. It's like at a certain point, he made a mistake. It seems like he made a mistake in a couple of instances of people who worked for him. He exposed himself and did something where they felt uncomfortable and didn't have the wherewithal to sort of say that I don't want to do that because out of fear of losing a job, whatever it is, he did that. At the same time, he was doing it with people who were totally cool with it, right? So it's like he runs the gamut of, I think some people are like, look, I don't like what he did, but he's apologized. I want to go support his show. But the reality of being canceled, it's like he'll never get to the same level he was because he'll always have protesters and people who will not let him. And that, that's the problem, right? And then beyond that, you have tackling that with your kids and explaining that to their friends, and this idea that he can work, the cancellation's nothing. It makes me so angry when people just try to gloss over. Andy, you have a YouTube channel. You're not canceled. You're fine. It's like come live my life for a week and tell me that I'm fine still. The ramifications of it are forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It never ends. I'll always have people out there, and especially anytime I get some viral tweet, there's always some scumbag who comes in and posts the headline of, "But he's a rapist." It's like, no, I'm not. And I it's a constant thing that I'm working on of I have to get over the fact that there's misinformation about me, and I just have to let it go. But you can imagine it's hard to let something like that go and be called a rapist when you're not.
Yeah, exactly. Because
it's a struggle that it's never going to go away from me or any of these people. So that's why it's something I talk about a lot of, and stand up for people like Gina and others, because I don't like the way she was bullied by those mobs. I may not agree with everything she thinks politically, but who cares? It's about, is she a good person? And I think she is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
I think that's
get away with it. It's come on, Disney, your double standard is insane.
But
Yeah,
to me, that was the best thing about the whole movie Rocky, which is a great movie where he talks to this younger woman at the bar or stuff. Like your reputation is everything. If you get a reputation, then people are going to forget all about you. But that reputation, whether it's deserved or not, that precedes you. That is how people know you and will see you and identify you. So when there's someone new who doesn't know you, they know nothing about you, that reputation is how they're going to see you. And that's the danger with cancel culture and with the misinformation that goes with it. And Andy, as you say, you feel that all the time because of the canceling of you. That's that misinformation that went with that. For everyone that hasn't followed you, they're going to hear the name, Andy Signore. Oh yeah, I remember the headlines and stuff. He did something awful. Don't know any details, but he must be awful because I remember that.
Well, and the other thing that's frustration about the whole cancel culture thing is like there are instances where people absolutely do need to take accountability and then don't. And it's like I see it in the comments, like people like Louis C.K. Like I do believe he deserved a second chance. I don't have a problem, but yeah, from everything most of it was consensual and it's fine. But there were a handful of women who were not comfortable saying no. And I think that's a conversation a lot of people don't get into the specifics of it. Like imagine you're a writer for Louis C.K. and you're sitting there and it's like a big gig for you. And he just is like, hey, is it cool if I do this? And it's like, yeah, you'd think for a rational civil, no, I'm not okay with that. Right. But for some people in that industry, it's hard for them to be like, oh shit, if I say no, is he going to like fire me? Am I going to like, what's going to happen? Like there's a moment of there. And I understand for women why that sucks because it happens all the time in this industry of like the fear of saying no to him, to someone that powerful. And that accordingly did happen. And that's my problem with Louis C.K. Like that is an abuse of power. Like I never did anything like what the fuck? That's disgusting to whip it out in front of your employees, whether it's cool or not. That's a little over the line for me. If they're into it, then who cares? It's none of my business. But to know that there were some that weren't as comfortable and didn't have the wherewithal to say no is an instance where it's like he did have to take accountability, and he did. He apologized, and it sounds like he's taking some time and he's working on it. And I think that's what we got to understand. Like there's nuances to some of these stories where it's like Sarah Silverman was like, yeah, he asked me and I was down. I wanted to watch it. In which case, who cares, right?
Fucking weirdo though, but
you know what I mean? Like it's hard. You got to hear all sides. You got to let some time pass. He accepted it. Anybody who was saying I'm bullshit, it's like he's acknowledged this, and I appreciate that he acknowledged it because that to me shows growth and like admits it, right? And then it's like he takes some accountability, but he's not going to say, well, I shouldn't have ever done it. For some people, it's fine. Like in my instance, like people still think I shouldn't have flirted with fans. And I always wrestle with like the people who are like, you were totally allowed to flirt with your fans. You're like a rock star in some degree. Like that's why people get fame and name, right? And a fortune to be able to flirt with their fans. Why would you not be able to? And it's something I know it's like a personal thing you got to be either okay with or not. But I think you have to be careful of not being the mob mentality and to destroy people based on your opinion, you know?
Well, the same thing that they did to Vic Mignogna, right? Like they canceled him over hugging and kissing fans, right?
Even
and
less
some of them were down with it.
Even less of a problem, or what do I say, less of an infraction, whatever. But they still tried to go after him. And a great example of this whole thing was when Matt Damon's like, "There's different levels to this stuff."
Yeah,
you know, when he was comparing the whole Weinstein situation, and they went after him.
He was
like,
canceled for that. So.
Yeah, and that's
the truth. And they would, and
to get back, and that kind of goes back to what Bill was talking about on this podcast that we kind of jumped through in the clips where he's kind of talking about it brings up Pee-wee and all this other stuff. It's like you get canceled, but then there's always a level to it. And he's like, there needs to be an accountability of what's going on, because he even brings up the whole Me Too thing and the Weinstein thing and how just a bad date has turned into something that can destroy somebody's life. And I know who he's talking to with that one. But Paulie, you were going to say something. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say in regards to Andre's tale from Rocky, as far as yo Maria, you got a lot of reputation. What did she say? Screw you, creepo.
Screw you, creepo.
Screw you, creepo. All right, Maria. Remember.
Maybe you're right. When you got room to talk, Rocky, you a creep.
Who are you to talk, Rocky? Yeah, screw you, creepo.
That's the days before someone, you're committing a microaggression against me.
We need to say "screw you, creepo" more often. And if Me Too,
Andy, Andy, you got a big mouth. You know that. Hey,
you know what they say about you, Andy, on the block?
Hey,
they say you're a whore.
Screw you, creepo.
Wow.
Well, they follow up.
It's
that
from
story
the movie, Mary.
It's actually quite a good
we're
story.
doing the movie.
Simpler time, man. Simpler time, right?
And they go around, they hear that little Marie girl. She's a whore. That's what they say.
I'm so dead over here right now.
You haven't seen Rocky then, Mary?
Not in years and years and years. So I was a little girl when I saw it.
Oh man, you got to see that. Did you see
basically that's the same as you haven't seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose at least in terms
the
of having
original Rocky. Do yourself a fucking favor. The OG original Rocky.
Whoa! There are a lot of good Rockies.
Oh, there are, but she'll get into
with the OG.
All right, Rocky.
Rocky Balboa surprised me how good that one is. When I read
it was amazing.
That brought Maria back.
That one is fantastic.
That brought the Maria character back. That's why it was so cool.
I wish it was
You'll
the same
remember-
actress, but who knows what she's up to now? But yeah,
And I still maintain the world needs a Creed spin. No, not Creed, but like a Drago spin-off movie, because that was the best part of Creed 2.
If he dies, he dies. My favorite Rocky line of all time is that it's not "Yo, Adrian." It's none of those things. It's when the guy goes, "Hey, Rocky, have you ever thought of investing in condominiums?" You know what? I don't know. I'd never really used them.
Oh man, he had a lot of them. He had a lot of those.
There's a great reference to Rocky IV in Family Guy where Brian's supposed to be studying for a test. He climbs to the top of the mountain. Drago! Oh shit! We're supposed to study. All we've done is work out. It's so iconic. Everything, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just gonna chill out over here in my little pool of estrogen and be completely.
Hey, Rocky's got a great love story in it.
A really beautiful love story.
You know what? I just wanted to finish what Andre was. The story of little Maria and Rocky trying to, give knowledge, street knowledge, and she said, "Screw you, creepo."
But since the conversation has derailed or degraded into Rocky, then I think we have said pretty much everything there is to say about Bill Burr from our end. So now it's on high time we check what you had to say in the super chats, because we have a little bit of a backlog to go through there. And after that, we're going to move into the next main topic of today, which is J.J. Abrams' rebooted Black Superman. Now, Andy, I'm sure you will have more information about that. So if you can hang with us until then, it would be great to have you on for that. But until then, catching up with some super chats. Now, these are older ones, so I cannot bring them up on screen since StreamYards, the software we use, in their wisdom, still haven't fixed that. So you're just going to have to listen carefully. Mr. Tickletrunk, and this was before we started talking about the bird situation, says, "Can we nuke Twitter from orbit yet? Please, I've been a good boy." And we should be so lucky. So you have to be even better before we can do that.
When they start charging to use Twitter, that's when it's going to get nuked. Believe me, nobody's going to stick around.
And Bear in the Wild says they're book burners, probably in reference to everyone wanting cancel culture and the proponents of it. And you're not entirely wrong about that. And then Techner Max says for €5, "Do you think Disney can really stick to Kathleen Kennedy in the long term? I just don't see any way, and it baffles me that she is still running the company." I don't know how she's been doing such a great job unifying the Star Wars fan base behind her. So it'll be fun to see how long that can last. And then Dyrus says for $10 in reference to the Lady J video from yesterday. And he says it must have Flint. Henry Cavill would be perfect as Flint. Also, G.I. Joe is about the diverse American team, not just the individual.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So,
Imagine that diversity in the 80s.
Fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there.
G.I. Shlomo.
You watch way too much. You did that too well, too quickly, on point.
Well, Tom, now you know.
Knowing is half the battle.
Yeah, exactly. And Bertrand K. Russell says, "Cancel culture can't cancel culture. As long as the official media keeps pumping out crap, alternatives will continue to proliferate underground." Yeah, that's what you have Comicsgate for, and I'm very interested to see what Daily Wire's film production wing will be able to do. But we shall see about that. And then Peace and Bullets says, "Great broadcast, guys. Here's your March 1st birthdays. Zack Snyder, Ron Howard, and the great and powerful Alan Thicke all have birthdays today." So Congratulations to all of those. Mexican Iron Man says for $14.99, muchos gracias, amigo. Frack these yo-yos. Cancel crap. Okay, we Mexican folk tend to be Seuss furry, but still love the books. P.S. Gary's dad was Seuss CPA. By the way, great Burr video. Hail the Edge crew and my body script doctor. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And
Thank
speaking of furries, Mary has to take her leave of us.
I'm so sorry.
How'd you like that segue there?
I thought that was brilliant. That was definitely worth the Dolphin Mary. So let me chuck that up for you. Yeah, thank you. You guys can catch me tonight here on Toxic Femininity for this evening's show. So hopefully you guys will come through for that. We're going to be discussing a whole lot of stuff.
Absolutely. At 9 Central Time. I'm sure we'll be talking about Bill Burr and some other things tonight.
Yeah, we'll be talking Black Superman and all of this potential buzz around Amber Heard getting fired. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Interesting. We may have a video to drop about that before this evening, so that'll be perfectly timed. Yeah, and you're in. Yeah, we can bring you up in that video.
Oh, do you?
Well, we'll bring up Andy, and we might mention you too, Mary. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Because you did help us. If not, I know you're in the context of the description. One of the two. We haven't finished the video yet. We're still working on it. So
no worries. So thanks for letting me hang out with you guys.
Have a good one, Mary.
All right.
Take care, Mary.
Good night, Mary.
See you.
Thanks
for joining us.
Be well.
See you in a few hours. All right. So yes, don't forget to check us out in a few hours for that. You get to hear the ladies go, and they have been on fucking fire lately. I tell you what.
Yeah, indeed. So everyone should check out the Toxic Femininity.
And also, I guess Paulie also has to bounce as well.
Yeah, for a few minutes, if it's okay. I'd like to come back, though.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. You could have just stayed muted. That's fine.
Oh.
I knew you were away, so I wouldn't have called on you.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
We knew you went to the bathroom, class. Paulie's gone to the bathroom.
Hold my spot, script.
I'm kidding. He's got to take a phone call. All right, so let's move on to some super chats. And speaking of Black Superman, we'll get on that.
Yes.
Praising time.
And Iron Sniper 1 says, #F Disney Plus, #Bring Back Gina Carano. Thanks for everything y'all do and keep up the awesome work. Though it doesn't mean much anymore, MTFBWY. Well, thanks for the support. I honestly don't know what MTFBWY means, but thanks. May the force be with you. There we go. May the force be with you. That's what it is, of course. How could I not see that? Anyway, Jack Hudson says, some people spend way too much time on finding things to hate about celebrities. They should use that energy on history lessons. Yes, we all should learn from history and learn it properly. That and math. ActionCom says, I'm talking about throwing out Kennedy and Favreau. Get rid of all of it. Yeah, but then who would be left to rule it? And Valiant Renegade says, Disney won't fire KK. Tom is spot on. It would likely cost Disney millions, if not tens of millions. While on the other hand, her contract expires October. Kenneth Maynard says, Barbara Broccoli is a far better producer than Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, but even she's starting to show cracks in the
I'd
armor.
go with Laura Schuler Donner, who's a better female producer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She's great.
And I think Matt G just sent us $1 through my PayPal. So if he's listening, thank you.
Well, thank you. And David Smith, now we're getting to Bill Burr. He says, Bill Burr was visibly uncomfortable talking about Gina. Has Favreau or Filoni told everyone in The Mandalorian to keep quiet and keep their head down? I don't know who would have communicated what to whom. I think that all of them probably know more, but exactly who has said what, and that I don't know. I don't think that communication is that open. Scripts, what do you think about that?
Not too much, actually. Sorry, I just no, it's not bringing any bell. I have no opinion on that, sadly. I just glosses over me. I'm just.
He didn't hear the question, did he?
No, I did not. I did not hear the question.
Reread the question.
I was reading the chat. Something was going on there. So.
Okay. Yeah. David Smith says, Bill Burr was visibly uncomfortable talking about Gina. Has Favreau or Filoni told everyone in The Mandalorian to keep quiet and keep their head down. I don't think that the communication has been that explicit, but that's my take. What do you think, Script?
I would say that if I don't even know if Bill Burr is going to be coming back for The Mandalorian again.
Right.
Like, it was a miracle that he came back for the second season. Like,
it was awesome that he did, though.
It was awesome, yeah. But it's like
it was like almost one of the best episodes.
Unless they rework the whole Rangers thing for some of the other side characters, I don't really see him coming back. Possibly, unless
he was very entertaining in that episode. But I wouldn't say the episode was very good. But that's just my opinion on that. No, like Favreau probably. I don't know if Favreau actually has had any time or any means to let anyone within the production, or at least on the acting side of thing, to know to do anything. I think a lot of them are just kind of, they see what's the writing on the wall and they just know to try and stay out of it.
Yeah. And then Stephanie Anisex Smuggler's Cantina says Feige's probably not happy with Kennedy. He does have that Star Wars movie. And Cultured Casino says, never thought I'd hear Rob's right. But
I'm still not used to it, so yeah, but by all means.
And Noron Blithers sent us a little doggy super sticker, so thanks for that. Sent us a diamond super sticker. And Iron Sniper 1 says, what does the future of Star Wars look like without KK? Will it go back to how great it used to be? Or will it get worse? Or can time only tell?
I don't think it's going to change much.
I think that depends entirely on who takes over. So,
well, if it's one of her people, no.
If I had to choose right now, I'd go with your alternative. Only time can tell.
Well, not only that, like I've been saying, this shit goes way deeper than just KK, right? I mean, the only thing we have, and this is what I keep trying to tell people who try to say, oh, there's no Civil War and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, because it is, but it's not, because the political stance of people isn't mutually exclusive in this deal. There are still people who may be on the left who just want to tell good Star Wars stories. You know, that's what this is about. You know, there are people that have been working there for a long time where that's all they want to do. I mean, and I also got to remind everybody that a lot of people who worked there, they saw a lot of their work get tossed out the window. I mean, that's why I remind people, I'm not so sure if Filoni's a part of the Favreau faction because he has any political leanings so much as he sees that as an opportunity to revive some of his dead stories. I mean, that guy put a lot of work into that EU. And I'm sure it really didn't make him feel too good when they're like, yeah, we're going to toss all this shit out. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people there that have similar feelings to that. Like, they put a lot of years into that place.
Yeah, but that comes with the territory, though. Not just there, but many, many places.
But, yeah, it goes deeper than it goes deeper than Lucasfilm, though. It's all throughout Hollywood. Like, that's the thing. Is it's like I said, one's gone and then another one takes their place. It's like a Hydra.
And moving on from there, Swinging Cod, he has a message for you. Tom, Army Hammer and I would like to invite you for dinner next week. If you could, eat a lot of garlic and butter until then.
We got that special shampoo you need to use, Tom.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they'll have a Chianti prepared as well. And Douglas A. Burton says, does anyone else think he's on guard because he's feeling set up by these guys? If you're referring to Burr, I don't think that he was set up by his co-host. I think that the conversation just went there, but he's on guard because he knows that people will be gunning for him if he says one little thing out of turn.
Yeah, I mean, because I think I can tell from his co-host and his guest that I'm not even sure they were fully aware that he was on the show, and the one that was aware he was on the show wasn't aware that Gina Carano was on the same exact show. So, like, again, I don't think they all really kind of knew the triangle of shit they were bringing Bill's way.
Which only goes to show that the Mandalorian doesn't have that reach with everyone.
And yeah, so I think that Bill was being classy and trying to, like I said, stay on target but change the subject, you know, kind of thing. But then every time he would, they would keep bringing it back to Carano. And again, like I think when they abruptly ended it, when he's like, let's just talk about taste buds, anything else, then it cuts. I think at that point, like I said, he's like, nope, we can't talk about this anymore, guys. I can't.
That's what I think. I'm surprised to even air that segment, but yeah, that's me. Fluffy Panda says, as ballsy as Burr is, him and comedians are scared as yeah. Can't see Sam Kinison or George Carlin giving 2 Fs about Twitter trolls. They're scared of them. Yeah, probably because they know that it's not really the Twitter that are the problem, it's who listens to them. And if they're scared, they probably have reason to be.
Well, they got a taste of it with the college campuses. That was a huge thing where they weren't allowed to perform on college campuses for actually even to most degree right now. They still can't.
Well, they still can't. Like, has anything changed? If anything, as far as I can see from the outside, the college campuses have gotten worse than ever. I mean, in Norway, we even have like universities in Oslo saying that we need to take some measures right now so we don't become the authoritarian hellholes American universities have become.
Yeah, well, and then Bill touched on that part as far as like, that's kind of the same thing with the universities. As soon as, a certain sect learns that a certain person is going to be speaking or a stand-up comedian is going to be talking, they'll call the venue or they'll pick it and what have you. And that's what he's getting as. It's like, somebody can't even go see somebody they want to go to without being, harassed by other people. That's the part that's bothering him. It sounded like to me, at least.
Yeah, and the sad part is the universities have technically educated those students to be able to do that in their non-academic lives, which is why they're quite effective doing it on social media. They've had, 2 to 4 years of practice doing it on college.
Yeah, and I see in the comments, Mikkel Borgsenius says same thing for Denmark. Yeah, the Danes were always sane. They were the sanest people in the Nordic. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they don't want to go down to the direction of American universities or Swedish ones for that matter. But yeah, moving on. We have a great comment from David Smith who says for $10, thank you so much. Gina, Katie Sackhoff, Ming Na follow each other on Twitter and Instagram. They were all liking, commenting on each other posts prior to Gina's firing. It's been public radio silence since.
Yeah, Katie's one of those that we didn't want to really bring up too much because she's also on all of them. Basically, let me put it this way. Anybody who works on any of Favreau's shows should watch their P's and Q's. Kathy is gunning for you, period.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why they're all so silent. Gaijin Grimpora says for $5, Bill Burr has the demeanor of a hostage, as if there's someone standing there with a gun aimed at him.
Well, and I think he has like an assistant there, because if you listen to the whole thing, he talks off camera, like you can hear the voice. And like there's a couple times where I'm sure he's looking at his assistant and his assistant's just like waving the hands like the no, don't go there kind of thing or something like that. Or, because like there's just a lot of points where you can tell Bill's just kind of like, what should I say here? What should I do? And when he interjects,
it's not her assistant, it's his wife, because I know he does
podcasts
with her.
It's a guy. It's a guy.
Is a guy in that one?
Yeah, because he's talking in the like earlier part, and the later part, he's like you can hear his voice, and he even corrects him on something in the Janet Jackson thing that got. Again, I had to clip a lot of that stuff, like that had nothing to do with the Gina part, but led up to the conversation they got to it. Yeah. No, I do suggest anybody for your own. We have the link to the original podcast in that video, and we encourage you to go check out the whole thing, because I don't want you to go by my edited version. I feel bad having to edit it, but we can't just repost the whole thing. So, I do suggest you check it out, because there's about
everyone do that. Like, we are not saying for 100% fact that this or that happened or that he feels that way. There was something very, very off with his body language and general demeanor when that topic was on, which is most uncharacteristic for him. But watch the entire thing and judge for yourself. The only reason it's newsworthy is because this is the first co-star to say anything about the Gina Carano situation. Were it not for that, we wouldn't have done anything with it. But it's kind of like a big story.
Yeah.
Like for Star Wars, that firing was a watershed moment. Like as we covered before, the spillover even goes into Marvel and WandaVision. It's that big.
And Panab, if I'm saying that right, says that's the dude who runs his podcast. Okay, that makes sense. It'd be like a producer or whatever. Yeah. All right.
And we have a couple of more to go through before we get into the next topic, which is J.J. Abrams' rebooted Superman. And on that topic, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, Rama says, Black Superman. How low effort. As at this point, I demand a white Black Panther or the loons are rated. But yeah, we are going to get into that before long. But we have a couple of more super chats to go through first. Freakadelic says, there needs to be an idiocracy-like movie lampooning people who freak out over things they infer that someone said or meant and think they should be cancelled.
There's already one. It's called PCU.
Yeah. Well, that movie was so ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm. And then Greg Gaming says, Star Wars liberals say, you can't have free speech. This is the way. Mando 2021. Yeah, it kind of looks that way. And the Jaw 15 says, if they try to cancel Burr, then that's going to trigger a response from Rogan. Cancel culture isn't equipped to go after Rogan and company. Yeah, no, they've tried to take down Rogan, Lord knows how many times, but he's like too big for it.
And that's the funny thing is, and not to get too deep into this part, but I wouldn't even think Bill would have been that high on their list. But I just hope he didn't put himself higher, unfortunately. Yeah. You know.
Douglas A. Burton says, for $19.99, thank you so much. We really appreciate your support. And he says, these two other guys are full of it. They pretend not to know Gina's last name. The one guy pretends not to know what a show Burr is on. They should know not to press him on this topic, and they should know his career is at stake.
I don't think they're pretending.
No, they're their own stand-ups. They have their own busy lives. They're just casual friends with Bill Burr. They're not going to know all the intricate details of his life. That's just the nature of the business. Like I've encountered it all the time where it's like, oh, I know that writer. I just can't remember what the heck show they're on, but I know I watched their show, and then it just comes later.
I think you're 100% dead on there. I mean, these are creatives. They have their own things they're working on, and they are so time-consuming that they're going to be focused mostly on that, and then they'll like catch some things happening in the periphery, but they're not going to pay like too much attention to them. As someone that runs a YouTube channel, I can absolutely sympathize with that.
Yeah,
I mean, Tom, you have to half the time you have to tell me what's going on,
and I don't even get to recap what I want to. Trust me, like I wish I could watch every one of Andy or Scripps or Paulie's or videos. Rob don't put shit out, but. Like there's a lot of people. I wish I had the time to watch everybody's video that I know. I mean, that's the thing is like, I mean, all these people, I want to hear their takes on it, but I don't have the time to watch every single one of them. So like, it's tough sometimes, but yeah, like if something gets brought to my attention, then I'll try and bring it to Rob or to Andre's attention. But even Rob sometimes is one of the ones who brings stuff to my attention. So he discovered Doomcock for fuck's sake. So
yeah. People aren't aware of that.
Oh, so it's your fault, Andre?
No, that's Rob's fault.
Yeah.
Really.
Rob's fault.
But it's true. Like Rob is the one that brought Doomcock to the rest of our attention at the time when he had 15 subscribers. And like Rob, he was telling me like, you have to check this guy out. And I was like, who? And I went to search. I was like, it can't be this guy. He has like 15 subscribers. But yeah, no, that's Rob saw the writing on the wall there and started, and we had him on Midnight's Edge and gave him some early boost there. So yeah, it's Rob's fault.
Yeah,
it really is. And on that note, Rob actually does put some stuff out, like the G.I. Joe Lady J video from that we put up yesterday. Everyone go check that out. That is 100% written, edited, and produced by Rob. So yeah, great job on that, and do check that out.
On his channel, but
yeah. Hey, how about people actually going and watching it?
Yeah, actually, Rob's got some great fucking videos over there. I've actually watched probably all of his videos. I don't think I watched all the podcasts, but like all your little videos, your shorter ones, are basically the basis for the Rob rants we have here, which are on the Midnight's Edge After Dark, which are kind of some of the more popular videos we have. That's the kind of stuff he does over there. So if you enjoy it, check it out.
Mecca suggested that I sampled the Popeye's chicken sandwich on my channel. I'm like, really? I'm gonna eat a chicken sandwich on my channel? Really? Come on.
No.
No. I don't think I'll leave that to
do it with the camera off, so then we have to imagine it.
Exactly. As good as it is, nah.
So if you're gonna do that, and get the sponsorship deal at least.
Right.
But yeah, we have a couple of more super chats before we get into Superman, which is the next deep dive. Skyheim says, I just found out about the Commando books. I want to buy those, but I have to wait till Disney no longer owns Star Wars. Well, then you'll be waiting for a long time, so maybe getting them secondhand. Would that solve the dilemma? That's a suggestion at least. And John Williams says, speaking of taste buds, breakfast was bacon, eggs, a mango, orange juice, and Midnight's Edge in the morning.
You're making me hungry.
Breakfast of champions. Yeah, that sounds amazing, all of it. So yeah, thanks for the support.
My frosted flakes look like shit.
And Al Manuel 0311 says, for another $5, when I was still in the Marines, Bill Burr's stand-up is what I'm looking forward to after doing a sucky field-up and helped me through those hard times. So yeah, well, I fully support anyone that can help anyone get through any kind of hardships, especially if you're on the in the Marines. And yeah, I can only imagine that's being hard. So as someone that's not even from your country, I will say this with full sincerity: thank you for your service.
He says that on behalf of Rob and I. So there you go, and the rest of us here probably as well.
And Mexican Iron Man says for $14.99. Thank you so much. I watch and listen to Bill Burr for well over 100+ hours every special podcast, but he's got a foot in comedy and one in Hollywood. The others are like most comedians, which is on the outside looking in. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. And here's one for Andy. Jacob Hill says, Andy, love you, man. Keep killing the game.
Thank you, man. Nice of you. Thanks for donating.
And Slash 11111 says for €10, if Trey Parker and Matt Stone don't write something into their next South Park season concerning the Gina situation, I feel like it could be the biggest signal that the fear level is on DEFCON 5, honestly.
Well, I don't think they're going to be doing another season, because, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, aren't they doing another pandemic special?
Yes, they are. They're doing a second one.
Yeah, okay, Rob's not here. So, yes, thank you, Andy.
They're doing a second one, yes. But
I'll tell you.
How about if they got Bill Burr to cameo on that cancel special? That'd be amazing.
I'll tell you a little secret, though, everybody. Talk about comedians, one foot in Hollywood, one foot in comedy. All comedians wanted to be rock stars, just about all of them. Because it's the same dynamic, think about, except, when the comedy thing, listen, I've played in front of more people being a comedian than I ever did as a musician. Okay, so that doesn't say a whole lot, but it's the same kind of thing. So there you go.
So yeah, there you go. And then we are close to getting to the point for getting into the next deep dive. But before then, Thundercats HQ says for £5 your morning shows make my lockdowns in the UK more bearable. Thank you. No, thank you for listening, and we are so glad that we can help make what has been a horrible year now for across the board a little bit more bearable. So if we can help in some way, then that's truly an honor and privilege, and it certainly validates everything we do.
I just also want to add, because of that South Park comment, I literally just texted my friend who works at South Park, and I said, please make a Star Wars cancellation plot and get Bill Burr to guest voice. So,
oh my God, you really?
That would be brilliant.
Seriously, if I'd have known that like months ago, Rob and I have written so many fucking South Park episodes. We could have...
I can't say who. It's not like he's not like Matt or Trey, but I got a buddy who works there.
Very I got the cool. I hope that
the South Park Studios out in Marina Del Rey. It's amazing.
Just tell him to watch Fandom Menace shows.
Well, everyone, you heard it here first. If that happens, you have Andy to thank for it. So yes. Fingers crossed, and massive kudos to Andy if it pans out. We shall certainly keep that in mind, and you can keep this episode in mind. So if it does happen, we're going to roll that clip, aren't we? And then Nelson Chereta says, the most damning thing in all of this is that saying someone is a sweetheart is potentially dangerous to your career. This is a witch hunt. Yeah, I believe Rowan Atkinson made a point like that just a couple of days ago. Yeah.
And then Rob made the Monty Python witch joke earlier too, which is something we've done quite often, A
witch, yeah.
And Stephen Otten says, hail Midnight's Edge and everyone in the chat. Taking a break at my new job to listen in. Oh, congratulations on getting a new job, Stephen. That's awesome. And Lonnie Holcomb says, Jeff Dunham has a home-built helicopter. True story. And the question is, did he build that helicopter himself, or did he have someone do it for him? Because if he had someone do it for him, then he only has a mini helicopter, which is cool. No matter what, I'd love to have a home built helicopter myself. So rich. But
he could afford a new wife.
Yeah, he did get a new wife.
Yeah,
that's my point. It wasn't just a
joke. As soon as he got money, she divorced him, and then he took half, and then he
half. I want half your shit.
She almost got Peanut.
Oh no!
Really?
Yeah. He was just a shell afterwards.
Oh, yep.
I get
anyway,
it
he can afford a real helicopter too. So yeah, but those are much more difficult to control.
I fucking hate Peanut. I'm sorry. Of all his characters, he's one of the ones I hate the most.
No, Walter's the best.
I like Walter the best. Yes,
I like Ahmed, the dead terrorist.
I can take her. Leave.
Yeah, Ahmed's low hanging fruit.
Yeah,
he's going to get canceled for Ahmed.
And I hate Bubba. I fucking hate Bubba. My God. Honestly, I'm one of those. I'm not the biggest Jeff. If you can't tell, I'm not the biggest Jeff.
Can he still do Sweet Daddy P anymore? I mean, or
that's another one I'm not a fan of either. Like the only one I really like is Walter.
Didn't he also have like the jalapeno guy?
Yeah, the jalapeno on a steak.
Jose Jalapeno on a steak.
Oh, that was so dumb. But anyway, on the topic of him and his divorce and his wife taking half of his stuff, Rambam 3000 says, here's anything that's never acknowledged. Women will hurl themselves at men they perceive as high status and tolerate different behavior. So yeah, you said it, not I, but there are some examples of that, and it goes both ways too. You have like some men clinging into older women, but yeah. Master Clockwork says, rest in peace, The Daily Show, 1996 to 2015. Oh, I so agree with that. Wookin Panoob says, for $5 Canadian, Burr is 110% against what happened to Gina and cancel culture BS. He's been talking out against it for years, but with a new child, married, he holds back. And HyperGyver2 sends $10 for the lights. Thank you so much. With the possibility of Michael B. Jordan being casted for Superman, I have confidence that he would push for it to be Calvin Ellis and not Clark Kent, since he claims that he is a fan of the comics. And that is the perfect segue into the next main topic, namely, J.J. Abrams recently announced reboot of Superman. Now, to be clear, the picture that you see on screen right now, that is fan-made. It is not yet confirmed that Michael B. Jordan is going to be the new
but he has
Superman. But he has been in talks. The only thing that we. Yeah, I just want to get out there. The only thing that we know for absolute certain at this point, what has been put out there by Deadline or by way of Deadline Hollywood, and there's some shenanigans in that too, but we'll get into that later. But the only thing that we know for certain is that J.J. Abrams is producing. He won't necessarily be directing, but he will be producing. And we know the writer, whose name escapes me right now. But the writer, that would be the one. Yep. And then also the announcement was very, very clear about what a political writer he is. He's a journalist. He's written for this and that publication. It's mostly about white supremacy and black issues and all of that jazz. That's mostly what he's about. Oh, and he's written some comics over here. That's like how he's qualified, and I haven't read them myself, but from what I've heard, both his run on Captain America and Black Panther was overtly politicized and total crap, is what I have heard. So naturally, not many have been too receptive to these news, especially those that want to see Henry Cavill continue the mantle of Superman. Now, I have heard some things about what's going on here, but Andy, I am sure that you must have as well. So what can you tell us about this movie right here? What is it? How does it fit into the DC Extended Universe at large?
Well, it's still being written. I forget his name. The character is a Black Superman character. It's not. It's the Calvin Ellis. I think his character is what they're writing this off of. What I've heard from my sources. But beyond what's going to be written, the interesting thing that I found through my homework was the fact, and I can't say who, but some very big name directors were trying to make a Clark Kent Superman movie. One standalone, sort of to reboot sort of a new hopeful direction, and as well as another one that could have been the Henry Cavill continuation, and Warner Brothers rejected both in favor of this one. So that was just very telling to me of just like, really? Why? What? Like, I don't have a problem with the Black Superman personally. If it's a good movie, that's what I care about. But I have a problem with, like, you have a great Superman who hasn't been able to really finish his arc. And I feel like, get it? Or even just, I think Superman and Lois can finally please sort of the Superman fans who are like, I want a more hopeful Superman. Well, great. Now you have that TV show. But Henry Cavill, I just feel like, has gotten the screw this whole time and not being able to do it. There's been talks of him coming to Shazam 2 and sort of other cameos, but it's like, as I speculated in my coverage of this, it's like, it just really feels like Henry Cavill is just like, are we date? Is this a date? Or are we together? Are you committed to me? Am I your Superman? Like, what's going on with him is sort of what I think is the real question and interesting turnout. The other takeaway that I did see is, what's her name? Danny Garcia, his rep, did just literally put a story out on Instagram or something where she sort of alluded to, when you can't talk about things because of NDAs, but you know there's big things coming, stay tuned. She reps him. So
yeah.
So there's a lot of like just question marks as to what's going on. I don't know if the backlash will help. It could help Henry Cavill, to be honest.
She also reps The Rock. Let's be clear on that.
She's his ex.
Yeah. So I think that, and I do kind of buy into this whole, like, he's possibly going to come back as Superman in cameos and other roles, but I don't think he's going to get his own movie, because I can't remember if it was Az or who it was that made the point on Friday Night Tights, but it's true. They're not going to allow Henry Cavill to have his own solo Superman movie going up against this Superman movie and risk the one outgrossing the other and making the other look bad. It's just not going to happen. And we know which one it is. I'm just not going to say it because if I say it a certain way, then the Google might read. But
I have more information about how this fits together and how this Superman, who probably is going to be Michael B. Jordan, although that is not certain, how that relates to Garcia's statements about she's under NDA, but big things are coming. And she, as you pointed out, is the one that is repping both Henry Cavill and The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. That's the key thing here. What I have learned since the last video, and this is something that it's not that I have learned it, it's actually Mikey Sutton that has learned it. So full credit to Scooper Mikey Sutton, who has a very solid track record on these things where it comes to both DC and Marvel stuff. But according to him, I don't know if it's from the comics or if this is going to be like movie mythology. This story of this new Black Superman will take place in a different place in the multiverse. I don't know if it's in the movies or if it's in the comics or what, but what I've heard is Earth 23. Now, the official terminology is that the expanded Snyderverse, the one where Henry Cavill is Superman, that is Earth 1. And then the universe where Robert Pattinson is Batman, that is Earth 2. And this one then, with the Black Superman, this is presumably Earth 23. So this is DC admitting that we don't have a Kevin Feige. We can't do what they're doing, so we're not even trying. We're back to doing completely standalone stuff, and we're just going to say that it's all part of one connected multiverse, and we'll pretend that we've intentionally connected it that way, although the reality is that we don't have the skill, because Hamada is completely inept and has utterly failed to do what the Kevin Feige should be doing. So for that reason, they then have a multiverse, which is code for they have a bunch of standalone movies. They now want to do a Superman movie with a Black Superman, and that's then Earth 23, I guess, number to be determined. However, since that's a completely separate continuity, Henry Cavill is going to continue as his Superman back on Earth 1. Maybe not in standalone movies, but the intention is for him to appear in future Shazam and Black Adam projects. Remember, his agent, Garcia, represents Dwayne Johnson and him, and they are something of a powerhouse, according to Mikey Sutton, in that world. So Henry Cavill's Superman will continue in that capacity. Will he get another movie? Probably not, but he's going to continue to be the Earth 1 Superman. That's the information that I got from Mikey Sutton, and everyone should check out his own blog, Cosity Magazine. I'll put the link in the description here, where there is more detail on all of this. So that then apparently is the plan. We're going to have multiple Batman running around, and we're going to have at least 2 Supermen flying around on the big screen. Plus then, of course, Superman in Superman and Lois on the small screen, on the CW. Of course, in reality, it's all going to be small screen on HBO Max. But that is how I've been holding it all together. Andy, yeah.
There's also the rumor that Nicolas Cage could be the Superman in Michael Keaton's Batverse in The Flash. So, I mean, it's the Flash point is where everything can go. They can solve or fix or do whatever they want in that world and allow each of these universes to exist. So that makes sense. I mean, Calvin Ellis is from he is from the multiverse in the comic run. So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that if this is happening, that this is a multiverse Superman after Flashpoint. the question I'm curious, the rest of you, do you believe though that Henry Cavill, even if his agent is The Rock's ex-wife, do you think he's cool just doing cameos to be Superman? There's now a rumor, and I can't attest it at all, but there's a rumor today, a son of the clickbait sites, so I don't know, we got this covered, is not one I trust, but that Marvel wants him for Captain Britain if DC passes. But I mean, the truth is, he could totally do a move like that if he wanted to say, piss off DC. Do you guys actually think Cavill wants to still be there and just do supporting roles in the Superman, diet versus trying to be like, no, I want my movie?
I think Cavill is biding his time until he gets the call from Barbara Broccoli and says, yeah, come on down. We want to talk to you. Yeah. James Bond's up for casting. Cavill is going to, he'd be nuts to give up the role of Superman. But at the same time, I'm going to be honest. This is Warner Brothers covering their asses. This is their way of having their cake and eating it too. If they're saying that this is a multiverse Superman, because now they get to say, oh, if this fails, oh, you're this and that, you're such and such, you're blah 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 blah. Oh, but we still have Henry Cavill. Don't worry, we still have Henry Cavill over here. He's still Clark Kent. Is thinking that they can pull him out of mothball at any time. And I always call Michael B. Jordan the younger, less interesting and American version of Idris Elba. Is a guy who's people talk about being in more movies than he's actually in. And I can't help but think that I don't want to say that they're setting this up for failure, but don't be surprised if it does. Really, with the names attached to it, and J.J. Abrams is a cultural locust. He's moving on. He's going to use up this too as well. I mean, like I said, but the only cherry left on top of a very large shit sundae that J.J. Abrams is building would be Bond. Really, if they brought him in to do Bond, and I shouldn't give them any ideas. Yeah. But at the same time, this is they're hedging their bets. It's very clear now that they're hedging their bets.
But as for the question that Annie asked, can they keep Henry Cavill now that they're going to share another Superman? Can they keep him? Is he going to be interested? That's the question.
They're going to sure as hell try. They're going to sure as hell try. I don't think they will. What was that? What was that, Andy? I'm sorry.
Mikey Sutton also wrote this Captain Britain rumor. I wasn't just we got this covered. It came from him. I don't know. I can't vouch for him as much. But the fact that Henry Cavill is also being wined and dined to play Captain Britain in MCU.
Mikey's pretty legit.
He just wrote that this morning, so I take that as you will.
Yeah,
Mikey's got a really good track record.
He does. He's a good friend of ours. He's new on the scooper scene, but his track record is really cool. It is. We've seen several things that we've learned about. That's like making the headlines right now, and he said it like 6 months ago.
No,
so he's legit.
Hold on, Salvador. No, it's not hating on Michael B. Jordan. People talk about him being in far more movies than he's actually in. I didn't see Creed. People love him in Creed. People love to talk about The Wire. The Wire was what, 10 years ago? I mean, but still, he was in Fahrenheit 451, whatever. I mean, how many movies has he made that have actually made money? He was in that stupid rom-com with Miles, Mr. Fantastic Teller, the guy who looks like the male version of Rachel Maddow. I mean, come on. I mean, like I think the guy has far more credibility people give him than he actually's earned. Ooh, Culver's, that's really good fast food. But anyway, like I said, I mean, it's okay. If it's the writing, that's one thing, but they are very clearly hedging their bets here. They think, and if I'm Henry Cavill, I just flip the middle finger and say, hey, screw you. I've got my own stuff to do. Later, pal. And then you'd leave him in a lurch, and then Warner Bros. Will say, "Oh fuck, now what do we do?"
Yeah, here's the thing. But that's if you were him. Script doctor. If you're Henry Cavill, as per Andy's question, if you're Henry Cavill and they now give another big screen Superman to another actor altogether that is not him, do you stay on?
You have to consider the fact that actors are stupid and they're ego-driven, so probably no, he probably would leave. But at the same time, he also really likes the character, so he will probably play it as often as he's available to, regardless if he gets a full movie or not. The other thing also to consider is that even if he is guesting in another movie, he's probably going to get a lot more screen time compared to any other type of character that would otherwise be guesting in it as also. And another thing to note is that this Earth 23 Superman decision did not come down from the top at Warner Brothers. This is what J.J. Abrams has let come through and be pitched and signed off on by Warner Brothers. Anyone who's currently like doing pitches right now for IP stuff with Warner Brothers, specifically in DC, has to go through Bad Robot. And Bad Robot has been rejecting tons of actually potentially great scripts for the last year and a half.
Why? Because they're too good for them?
Well, no, this doesn't fit into what JJ wants to do. And JJ wants to do something that he can put his own stamp on as either a producer or possible
That's
director.
what I was hearing.
Yeah,
That's
so
funny.
you're saying that they were too good for them.
No, they need that 25% difference. So that's sweet merchandise.
That's what I heard.
Even if you do the Calvin Ellis thing, that's still not 25% different because that's still owned by DC. And
he'll make a few. He'll make.
Yeah, they don't need any 25% difference here because this here is the original IP. No 25% difference needed.
Yeah,
other
he's got
than
$500 million, and that gives him a lot of decision-making power with regards to what he chooses to present to the higher-ups at Warner Brothers in order to get greenlit and proceed further.
I can't help but think that J.J. Abrams has committed the biggest daylight robbery in American history with this deal.
Well,
It's astounding,
and I don't know exactly what it means, but like one of the biggest issues early on, and this was all because his deal happened, and the Snyder Cut thing all happened, all that stuff all kind of happened at the same time, and like. From what I heard was he wanted his own little pocket universe or something like that to play in, or he had to be able to have all his autonomy. So that's why thought that was funny. You said that script that they've been rejecting all these other things because they didn't fit in his vision. So that clearly tells me that must have been true then, that he has some little idea of what he's going to do, and it doesn't jive with what the other kids are doing.
Yeah, and basically right now, because AT&T wants to diversify as much as they can out of DC just to make up all the lost money that's happening on the publishing side of things, they have no issues having multiple Superman, multiple Batman, multiple Wonder Woman, even multiple Flash. They don't care. They just want to get the content out as frequently and as often as possible so that they can make up any losses that they've IP.
They want McDonaldization is what they want. And J.J. Abrams is the perfect guy to do that for them.
Well, to echo, I believe everything that was just said, but I trust this one very hard. This was not JJ's decision to pass on the script. The one I know, it was someone. It just would make sense if I could reveal it. I can't reveal it, but it's not. I believe JJ is totally trying to do what he wants and make his own pocket. But Warner Media at the same time either is just saying go, no, because if it's not what JJ's thinking, maybe it could be, but. Even people above JJ at Warner Media are still passing on sort of the bigger opportunities. So, which just makes it clear, yeah, they've put their money on JJ, which is terrifying, given that he's destroyed so many franchises already.
If they're passing, they're probably passing for two reasons. One, it's not going through JJ as the $500 million deal stipulates, which means
this is somebody at a JJ level. Let me say that.
It's another director who's probably saying, I want to do my own thing. And they're like, yeah, no, sorry, we're not doing it because we have this contract with JJ. And if you want to do it, you got to go through him. And that director will probably be like, I'm not going through JJ Abrams. I'm bigger than JJ Abrams.
But yes, which is insane that Warner Brothers now made a multiverse and isn't allowing good name directors to be able to do properties that have to go through JJ. If that's true, again, speculating if that's really the case. But if that is, then we're in trouble.
Yeah. On that note, I have a question for both of you, Andy and Script Doctor. This $500 million deal that Warner Media entered with J.J. Abrams was entered prior to the release of Star Wars Rise of Palpatine, which is what the movie should be called.
Yep.
Do they have any kind of buyer's remorse? Because, you see that he's attached to all of these things. But really, what he's done is that every single big branded property he's been working on have been left in the rubbish afterwards. He takes billion-dollar properties and turns them into million-dollar properties. Of course, Star Wars was still technically a billion-dollar property, as in Rise of Palpatine did barely limp past the billion-dollar mark, but it was beat by the Joker at the box office. and box office receipts were sliced in half since The Force Awakens. Let's not even begin with Star Trek, that went through the exact same trajectory on the big screen, where the first one that he directed was pretty successful, and the last one that he only produced was such a bomb that China actually ended or changed its funding in Hollywood legislation because so much money was lost on it. Don't they have any kind of buyer's remorse? Are the people so completely blind as to the history that he has done to everything that he's worked on? Why do they give him such power in determining what's going on with DC of all things? Like, can they get their money back, Andy?
Look, we look at it a different lens than a studio head does. Let's be clear. Do I think he has done those things? Yes, but to a studio's eyes, JJ is a rarity, right? He's someone who can work with everybody, and he can manage such a large thing. And yes, we don't like what he's done, but as you said, begrudgingly, they still did cross $1 billion mark. He's able. I think some. Again, I'm talking because you asked me what do I think the studio thinks. He has started and launched some things successfully. So if I'm a studio head, who else out there is being able to handle those huge tent poles? You got to remember, that's not just some new upstart or even Zach, like who's really able of doing that? There aren't a lot of established people who can take over tent pole franchises and please a certain part of the fandom, right? So look, I don't think they do see it the way we do. I think they see him as a valuable commodity. He's liked around town. He works with a lot of people, and it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like I also do think they probably are looking at the fact that the Star Wars fandom is its own thing. They're probably trying to be like, well, that's not going to be us. They don't realize that the DC fandom can be just as intense. But so I don't think they're seeing it that way yet.
They have the same issue at DC. It's just not as prevalent because they have so many other issues to deal with. Birds of Prey is an example of it. That is a clear example of there is the same kind of ideal faction over at DC, but they're losing out right now to bigger voices. Like there's other problems they're dealing with that aren't even remotely in that region. But Birds of Prey was clearly people trying to push an agenda there.
But Tom, don't you taking the bias out as an industry, like another industry, like don't you think they see JJ as a potential person who can help them?
Oh yeah,
hinder them.
Well, that's what I always try to tell people is like, outside of the industry, inside the industry, JJ is gold. Like everybody kind of forgets, like people like and Kurtzman, the fray is starting to show a little bit, but like that's what I keep reminding people with people like Kurtzman and JJ and all these people who keep getting jobs, but yet they just destroy franchises because they know how to get off a sinking ship. JJ knows he gets in there, he reinvigorates a franchise, gets the fuck out while the getting's good, so then somebody else can take the blame. And I bring the same thing up with Star Wars. It's like, I blame him for half the issue because if he would have just stuck with the trilogy, I guarantee you we would have got something better than what we got. But he didn't. He hightailed it out of there after the first film to where they came crawling back to him for the third film. Why did they do that? Because in their eyes, in the Hollywood bubble, he's the one who made the most successful of the films. So he's the guy they went to. That's all. Yeah. So like, again, you look at all his movies, they're shit, but Star Trek 2, Force Awakens, even movies like the Spielberg ripoff he did. I can't think of the movie, The 8.
Super 8.
Super 8. All those movies made money. All the stuff he produces, like Cloverfield, makes money.
And don't forget TV, Alias, and
oh god, let's not even get started on TV.
I think people because we have emotional frustration with him, they underestimate. He's a very good pilot. He makes a very good pilot. Alias, Lost, I would argue Star Trek. He makes he's really good at starting something, but then he doesn't know when to leave. And so that's the problem. And I think the studio
leaves before it's done.
Yeah, for sure. But I think, look, Force Awakens to me, they could have solved some of it could have worked had someone else really stepped in and worked with it. Like, to me, it's part 2 and part 3 that really, became the dumpster fire of Star Wars. The first Star Trek in 2009, I loved it. So it's like JJ has a lot of good in him. And from an industry standpoint, do they have regret? I don't think so. Like, there's too many wins at high level dollar amounts of, franchise tentpole level that, you hire him to start things. So he's overseeing the development. As a producer, he's better. Let's be honest, I think. And I don't think they are going to have that buyer's remorse. They paid him. You got to commit. And if you pay him, you might look. The reality is, it's not the popular answer, but if you paid him that much money, yeah, you turn down all the other shit and you say, all right, what do we want, JJ? Because you paid him that money. You're supposed to pick somebody and then let them do it. Now, if he hangs himself and makes terrible DC properties, they'll learn the way. But I don't know. You gotta. If you hire somebody, you gotta let them work, I think. And so I think they're gonna.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, she was renewed because the first 3 things she shot out of Disney were technically successful. Even though The Last Jedi was the downfall of the franchise, it still technically made money. And critically, it did fine. That's the thing. That's the other thing that I keep trying to tell people is they're setting this stuff up to where it's like they even say it in certain other places. So I don't understand how some people have a hard time believing it. But they're literally trying to get the higher ups to go, okay, fine. These customers we're losing right now because of Gina Carano, those are customers we didn't want anyway. They have this mentality. They're like, we don't want them customers. And all the customers we're going to bring in because it's quote unquote safe now, it's going to be so many more. But they're starting to see through that a little bit. And that's where I think things are starting. They're trying to come up with other ideas. That's where I said, I swear they're trying to build this narrative to where they're going to try and put, KK in the spotlight of being a victim through all this. And it's all, they're going to point the finger at us, guys. Who do you think they're going to say is the one going after her? Again, this is all set up to where they can protect Queen Kathy. It's the same thing with a lot of these other people. Look at Kurtzman. He can put the blame to everybody else. The Mummy,
fans.
That was Tom Cruise's fault. Star Trek, it's the toxic fans. All this other shit. It wasn't until he touched Claire Reese did they finally have the balls and the gall to say this guy shouldn't be touching anything. Why? Because it's something they give a shit about. See, these other things, they're just nerd properties that needed fixing in their eyes. The media runs with this shit. There's a whole group of people within Hollywood, not just in Lucasfilm, not just in Disney, but everywhere, where they feel like that's what they need to do. They need to infiltrate this nerd culture, and they need to fix it because it's too male-centric, and they see it as white males running it. They don't even stop to think that there's lots of other people from lots of different places that have lots of different backgrounds that are in this. Like Paulie's right here. He'll tell you all kinds of stuff about, the Latino experience when it comes to nerd culture. Hell, we talk all the time about it. And that's just one aspect.
I denounce white Hispanic supremacy.
Yeah, you try.
Damn it.
No, but I mean, it's ridiculous. And I brought up, they just want to change everything to this, like, it's good for us. You know what I mean? Like Andre, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm also really curious to what Screen Doctor has to say on how confident are the power of Warner that now that they have JJ, who they paid $500 million for prior to Rise of Palpatine, are they still confident that they're going to get their money's worth?
On the film side of things, yes, they are, because J.J. Abrams is the concept king. His concepts are crap, but they're exciting enough to actually get people interested. And as we've seen from his track record, they don't ever stick the landing. The only time J.J. has ever been brought into a franchise and actually allowed for it to flourish and be successful was Mission Impossible. That's the only time. He saved Mission Impossible, and he's been riding that ever since.
It's true.
The other side of it is that the accountants that understand the concept of merchandising are really pretty much crapping their pants right now, because they have seen the fact that J.J. Abrams' involvement has destroyed merchandising for Star Trek and merchandising for Star Wars, which were really the big money makers. DC and their properties have only existed because of merchandising and licensing through the films and through toys and all those like bed sheets, t-shirts, all that stuff. The comics don't make money. So here's the problem. J.J. Abrams has never been in any of the franchises to make huge at the box office. He's been there to get a slice of the real money, which is the merchandising. Just like Yogurt says in Spaceballs, it's all about the merchandising. That's all that J.J. Abrams is there for. That's all he cares about.
Point of contention with Star Trek, exactly. Yeah,
that's all he cares about. He does not care about the narrative, the story, the whole woke agenda stuff. He's just towing the line to try and make sure he can get a slice of that merchandising, because that stuff never goes away, except for the fact that he is the first producer in Hollywood since the 80s who has never been able to actually get something that is an IP more successful on the merchandising side of things ever. That is unheard of, and that's why accountants at Warner Brothers, at AT&T, at Disney, at Paramount despise him, but they don't have a big enough voice to do anything to thwart that off. From the production side of things, yep, his movies make money. Sure, they're expensive, but they make money. But they don't see beyond that, and that's the biggest problem, because Paramount and Disney, Lucasfilm, relied on the merchandising stuff to keep some of those franchises into the conversation so that they can market newer properties of TV and film. JJ can't do that. So they're going to learn the hard way. The producers are going to learn the hard way over the long term. I think it's going to be about 2 films before they actually start realizing that they made a mistake with JJ.
Well, and the only time JJ had anybody come out nearly close to coming out against him was when Paramount was pissed because he left them for Star Wars. And I'm sure that they handled that with kid gloves as much as possible, because like you said, Script, they didn't want to, fuck up their relationship with, him and Mission Impossible. And Mission Impossible,
Tom Cruise and JJ are still really good friends.
Yeah. And Mission Impossible is a different kind of animal, though, than Star Trek. I mean, yeah, it's a classic franchise, and it even suffered from the same exact problem that Star Trek did. Is once the separation happened, they had to basically, it was, the TV show was under one roof and the movies were under another roof.
Yep.
And it just so happened that for JJ, it benefited that Mission Impossible didn't have the same kind of following that Star Trek did. People remembered it, but it didn't have like the merchandising. It didn't have, like the tie to the characters, like, Spock and Kirk and all those do in comparison. Cause I mean, they went and killed all the main characters from the original show in the first movie.
Yep. The first movie was a hit. The second one was a flop, and Paramount panicked, and JJ had a solution, and it actually worked. So miraculously, I can't believe it worked, but because that movie gave me a huge headache, just the way it was formatted and stuff. But it worked. It saved the franchise. It's why you have, I think, almost 8 Mission Impossible films are going to be in the can. And they did 5 just recently, so they did 6 and 7 back to back with plans of an 8, which I don't know how they're going to do that with the current restrictions, but whatever. But yeah, it's a franchise that Tom Cruise loves, that is actually afloat, because it was pretty much dead, almost dead after Mission Impossible 2.
Yeah, I hated that fucking movie.
That movie destroyed so much. Like, it destroyed X-Men and everything.
Mission Impossible 3 is one that doesn't get enough credit. Philip Seymour Hoffman was fantastic in it.
He was,
3 was actually a pretty solid entry that I think people move on and forget about, but he's right. He totally pivoted that franchise to a better place. But that's Tom Cruise's franchise. Even JJ at that point couldn't just take it over. I think JJ was still.
That's why he's not back as a director.
JJ was still sort of new at that point as a film director, so it makes sense. But it's a good example if he was able to do it.
Yeah, and that lasts for 20 years, man. Like, when you do something really good in Hollywood, you can ride that for 2 decades easily. And let's just look at Akiva Goldsman, like A Beautiful Mind. He's been milking that off for forever, and that's not even an original screenplay. He adapted that from a very well written book. Like, he didn't have to do much to make that a movie that was good.
No, you're right. Go ahead, Andy.
No, I was going to say that the comparison to me is like Kathleen Kennedy is the Jeff Johns right now. Like, Jeff Johns, through all his trouble, staged himself onto Wonder Woman and sort of that wave. And now Kathleen Kennedy is trying to take credit for Mandalorian by saying, I brought the two together. Like, it's out there. See, they wouldn't have done it if I didn't think to put them together. And so that's also a trick in Hollywood. You just ride a success, you attach, barnacle yourself to it, and then suddenly you can get a little bit further. So
I like to call
John
it the
Peters
Amy
did it,
Pascal.
Javier Rod.
I like to call it the Amy Pascal.
Amy Pascal, even Robert Evans did it. One of the better producers of like the 60s, 70s. He's the one. He's done that stuff too. It's part of the game is that if you're a producer and you don't have any other skills, it's all about how do I make this about me? Because if I don't, they're going to realize I'm useless and then I'm out of a job. So that's what they do.
Glomming onto something to someone else or someone writing someone's coattails. Yeah.
Well, and Kurtzman did kind of get a little punishment. He hasn't directed a movie since, to my knowledge, so I don't think he's going to get a movie anytime soon either after that.
And I'm just waiting for the right project.
No, I think his biggest mistake was he got full of himself and he jumped on Clarice and thought he was going to be able to continue to do what he's going to do. And I think I don't think he's too long in the tooth for Star Trek anymore. Does that necessarily mean that Star Trek's out of the woods yet? No. We've got Akiva Goldsman who's still there, pretty heavy duty, because that's kind of what I think is happening, is that Kurtzman's going to kind of slide out. Goldsman's going to continue to finish out these shows that are there, because that's kind of the way I took that story, and the way they're talking now is Section 31 and everything else aside from the shows that are on the air now are coming, like Prodigy. That's it until this is done. They're going to let this kind of ride out, and then they're going to do something else.
Well, Goldsman and Kurtzman are in fire sale mode. So, and by that meaning they're taking as many jobs as they can. So Akiva Goldsman is currently working on Strange New Worlds. He's working on Titans, and he's working on, I think, 3 other shows at the same time. And then Kurtzman's got all the stuff under Secret Hideout that he's getting himself involved in for who knows what, not just Clarice, not just the Star Treks, but all the other things. They're doing this because they probably know that their time is short. Because I've never seen a writer take so much work on right away without realizing that, they're not going to have those opportunities 5 years from now. And
it does kind of support the whole thing that, and we may have just caught it way early in the process, and you can, explain that, possibly script about how long these things sometimes take to get off the ground. But that could be why there's that whole con thing that's going on. But Kurtzman or anybody else from Star Trek are not involved that we know of, and it could just be a reworking of the Meyer script because he's not involved either.
Development is hell. I mean, the only time something goes really fast is when there's a lot of money behind it and that the big players are pushing it through, and that really only works over at Marvel right now. They're the only ones that have that formula a bit.
Everyone on the panel, we know about season 4 of STD being in production. That can mean anything. Do you think this, if it gets to season 4, do you see it going beyond that?
I don't think so. I think the big thing will be whether or not it's on Netflix or not, because if it's not on Netflix everywhere else this next season, then that pretty much confirms all of our reporting. Like there's going to be people who are having a hard time arguing our reporting. And from what I've been hearing, this season 4 is very, like, they cut the budget highly on season 3, and I heard this budget's even worse.
If it's not on Netflix, where does it go? Does it go to Amazon?
Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus. I mean,
Paramount Plus, and
globally,
it'll be sold to Canadian Sci-Fi Channel and a couple other affiliates as well. But they're not going to get a whole lot of money off of that. I think they did because it's all second and third window access because Paramount Plus is primary.
Is Paramount Plus going to be available internationally? I mean,
and this I can see too. Mills says the rumor is they're shooting 4 and 5 concurrently, and that's probably just so they can finish up certain contracts as well. Because that was
shorter seasons. Yeah, they can get away with that.
8 episodes per season. Don't be surprised if you have 8 episode seasons.
I bet you it's 10. Because they went from, what was it, originally 20?
They went down to 16.
Then they went down to 16, yeah. And then
13.
Yep. Yeah, I think the writing's on the wall with that one, because it didn't take them long to cancel Twilight Zone, because they couldn't even try to make that look like a hit.
And they had Jordan Peele backing in. He was
oh
a
my
hot
God.
number. Yeah.
I mean, with Star Trek though, they've got a little bit more hanging on that. it's their baby of a franchise, because Paramount ain't got shit besides Mission Impossible. They don't own Transformers.
Well, they have Beavis and Butthead.
They've got Beavis and Butthead. They've got SpongeBob, and they've got the Ninja Turtles and all the Nickelodeon stuff. So Dora, all that stuff. But other
Tom,
than that,
you said they're going to finish out the shows remaining on the docket here. I mean, so Section 31 is dead in the water.
Dead. I mean, that's basically what they were saying when they said it's still in the thought process or whatever. They take that. That's taking it back to square one. That means it's nothing.
But I mean, like I said, you got Strange New Worlds, Picard. You got these animated Trek. I mean, but what? I mean, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead. But what happens after that? Do they reboot? Do they hire somebody else to work on the same project? I mean.
I don't think even they know at this point.
I don't think they do either. My guess, and this is just me totally pulling shit out of my ass here, is they'll take like a 2 or so year hiatus. I think this con thing is going to happen. I think that'll be the first thing they kick it off with is the con miniseries, and that'll be very tied to the Wrath of Khan, to where it's like there's no mistaking that we're back, folks, into the OG timeline. And like many other things, they just will never talk about Discovery again. I'm sure they're hoping that Strange New Worlds is going to take off, and it may be. I've been hearing some interesting things about it. It may be one of the best Star Trek shows we're going to get in a while. Because
that's not saying much.
I know that's not saying much, but I've been hearing rumors, and this is all because Kurtzman's little grubby fucking paws are as far away from it as possible. And Akiva Goldsman is a poser. Like, from what we've heard, motherfucker is not nearly as woke as he tries to pretend he is. So what I've been hearing about this show is that it's the closest we're going to have to like classic Star. It's all going to be, just basic kind of like TOS kind of Star Trek, from what I've been hearing. Sure, it's going to look like the newer stuff, but from
what more violent than the original.
And it's going to be a lot more violent and all that kind of shit. Yes, but fingers crossed. This could fall somewhere between original Trek and JJ Trek. Let's just say that's the best case scenario for this, from what I've been hearing. So, I mean, I'm not holding out hope for the show, but what do you guys think? Rob did bring up an interesting question. Andre, I'm curious what you think they're going to do, and then we'll get everybody else's take.
No, I think you're right. I think that right now they're going to ride out what they have, let all the contracts expire, and then we're probably going to get that con show, and that is going to be like the key to relaunching. It's not going to be like announced as a major reboot, but probably, depending on who they're going to have running it for them, that's going to be a return to something closer to Star Trek. And then this whole Discovery era is going to be like a sad chapter that no one talks of again. I mean, they already established multiverse that you can consign it into, that it actually consigned itself into, if you want to be technical about it.
It was a dream. It was all a dream.
That's what I think.
And I'm not trying to play with your feelings, Ryukin, but it's just one of those things. I'm not going to even pretend it's probably going to even be a decent show. But just from what I'm hearing, it's not going to be all about, it's not going to be anything like Discovery in a sense that it's going to be all about the Mary Sue bullshit. I mean, Pike is the star. It's supposed to be kind of, that pre-TOS era still. And Akiva just wanted to make a fun show, I guess. And the reason this show exists, and to the best of my knowledge, and Andre or whoever can back me up or come against me if I'm wrong, is just because of the reaction to Anson Mount as Pike. From what I know.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the whole reason. That's the whole reason.
So that's one of the few times they actually heard the fans. Now, it's not necessarily that what we were saying we wanted a show with him, but we were just saying, oh yeah, he actually feels like he's in a Star Trek show. Like he knows what he's doing there. He's unlike everybody else who's like in 10 different shows.
He seems like an actual Star Trek character. Even though they
cry far away from Pike, but still.
Yeah, even though they cut the balls out from underneath him every chance, but that's the other thing. That's the other thing. Are they just gonna kowtow to a certain segment and just humiliate him like they did on?
I don't think so. I really don't, and that's where I'm hearing some of the pushback is from. Because I guess, and again, somebody please correct me if they've heard otherwise. From what I heard is that's one of the points where Kurtzman left and came back because he was pissed that Akiva Goldsman went under his nose and got this Strange New World show going, and they couldn't even get Section 31 and all this other shit that Kurtzman's been trying to get off the ground. And this was like Akiva Goldsman's baby. And that's where I think that he used his relationship with Emma Watts to kind of go under his nose and be like, look, I bet you if we do this, this will be successful. And he backed it up with he had stuff to back it up with. If you go online at the time, even guys like us were saying, yeah, Anson Mount, here you go. Yeah. Anson Mount is the best part of a bad TV show. Yeah. So of course he had some shit to back him up that he was popular with even the non-fans. So it was kind of, we can maybe get some goodwill with this show, I think is what they were trying to do. Anybody else, or am I probably spot on there?
No, you're pretty spot on. Yeah.
I think you're pretty spot on, unless our esteemed panel, whose members include actual industry professionals and insiders, have any major objections, which they may have, and that's fine. Andy?
I mean, I have an objection to this show, but I think Strange New Worlds is. I think Anson Mount is a good choice, and he was charismatic in the role, and he was given some decent lines, and he was very much. He did not fit in the rest of that series, like in Discovery. He was the beautiful thumb sticking out, as opposed to the sore thumb analogy. He was the best part of that second season, and yeah, his absence was duly felt in the third season, but. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, indeed. And with that, we rolled a little bit around from the topic of Superman, but we're going to roll right back again with some Super Chats.
Yes.
Master Clockwork wonders, so how long till Black Batwoman versus Black Superman?
Oh, wow.
That's probably going to be a little while. Taker610 says, when Rocky's kid is born and he says to Adrian, I can't believe you've done this. I want to believe Rocky literally doesn't know how babies are made.
I saw that quote earlier and it made me chuckle. You're probably not far off the mark, because even Rocky knows he's not the smartest one of the bunch, He's like, yeah. I'm a little dumb, Yeah, he knows it.
Yo, Andy. Screw you, creepo. Hey, how you doing? Script doctor, how you write scripts? You write any picture books there, script doctor? Any picture books? I like reading them picture books. How you doing? Hey,
you know what you should do? Take it to the zoo.
Oh, I love the zoo.
I can't finish that one.
And then Thunderstorm says Soviet-style ban people ban people control people. Yeah, it's kind of like it. And Andrew Johnson says it puts the lotion in the basket. Well, I probably should have had a more creepy voice to it, but anyway, it puts the lotion in the basket. So nice Silence of the Lambs reference right there. Dyslexic American. Yeah. Dyslexic American says, turns out the real reason the whole thing with Gina happened is because they think she's a witch and allegedly turned KK into a newt.
Well, she got better.
Better anyway. And Anti-Derivative Jill sent us a super sticker of like a green little pear dude for $5. So thanks for that. The Fesman 93 says for £5 what happens if this splits the fan base and makes less than Man of Steel if Cavill is out? What would JJ's future be like at Warner Brothers with DC? Yeah, that's actually a good question. If this reboot Superman movie now comes out, let's just assume for a second that the world has started going to theaters again, and it comes out in theaters and it bombs completely. What happens then? What's the downfall from that? Andy?
So wait, the question: what's the downfall of if JJ?
If JJ's Superman reboot movie, if that completely bumps or underperforms worse than Man of Steel, what's the fallout from that?
I don't think that's possible. I mean,
but if it happens,
inflation, it'll trick. But he'll spin it some. I mean, look, when Rise of Skywalker bombed, JJ went out there and talked about the JJ cut. Does everyone remember that? There's no JJ cut. Like, they didn't have time to make a JJ cut. Like, they were on such a deadline to meet that release date that they were just out there. But he got Dominic Monaghan and his editor to go out and sort of justify it. I don't think he'll figure out a way to spin it, even if it is that he'll probably also sign on to a new franchise before it publicly comes out if he has any doubt over it. So the guy feels like Teflon at this point. I mean, I don't see how he can be removed if it's just a bad box office. I mean, if it's a complete miserable part of a movie, and it bombs, I don't see JJ being canceled unless he's Me Too'd or something more dramatic. I don't think a movie's going to do it.
Well, and I've got to be clear. There was, I wouldn't call it, I don't know if you could call it a JJ cut, but there was different versions of that movie. That we know, that's been confirmed now. Because
they were editing the movie, but
I'm still convinced there's footage of Matt Smith floating.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a whole nother version of the, because you got to remember, Andy, they were reshooting longer than they shot originally, because they only shot for a couple months and then they went back for reshoots, and they were reshooting up to the point where the movie was done. And Hasbro came out and said later on that the reason that Rise of Skywalker was the first Star Wars movie not to have a 3 3/4 inch toy line was because they threw their hands up in the air and said, fuck it, after most of the toys they had just produced were cut out of the movie. So there was a whole nother version of the movie they had filmed, and then they reshot almost most of the movie again, is what happened, basically, from what we heard.
Yeah, it was a movie that was we've heard that from very good authority, that the movie was remade over and over using the Mando tech, which allowed them to do it relatively cheaply and quickly. But that movie could go in many different ways before the.
Oh yeah, I don't know if there was ever a cut, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all I know, and from also and again, we'll have to agree to. I know from a reliable source, like they were just trying to make the deadline and figure out what the hell they were releasing.
This I agree with.
They've been shooting different things and changing the cut along the way. Yes,
that's my point.
But was there like a JJ cut that he delivered?
I don't know.
Disney was like, no, we're gonna That's what
I don't know.
There is no JJ cut or like definitive JJ vision of the film, because JJ has no vision.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Is the movie changed so many? There may have been an early assembly cut.
Those previs, like previs is done way earlier. You can't just change the previs of all the action scenes like months before release.
You can, but you can't at the same time. You remember remember that one scene?
Not to a grand scale. I mean, if you have to do something, of course, you one in, but it's going to cost a fortune.
Well, that's where that new technology comes into play. Is JJ could play a lot more loose with it. And remember that the one that I think stuck out to me the most was that behind the scenes footage where you had them all out in the fucking desert, and even the actors are all looking at each other with just like the most baffled look on their faces, because JJ is constructing this huge fucking blue screen for no good fucking reason, or green screen, and it's like, why are we out in the fucking desert when we could be just shooting this green screen?
It's true. It's like, also, there was that Boyega shot, right, where he was sort of like put into another shot where he was running down, which proof that. Yeah, look, it was Frankenstein, is what I think. They were
absolutely.
JJ didn't know what was happening. I'm sure there was stuff that was shot that didn't make the cut. I'm just saying there were reports back then that I won't. I'm not
but I don't know if you
like there were 4 different versions, and Lucas had a version, and like guys,
I don't know.
That was there was just not enough time to have that kind of stuff done. From everything I heard, JJ was just trying to get that finish line. Like he was just, and he was constantly second guessing, changing. This has been proven by Daisy Ridley, everyone else. Like they had no idea what they were doing.
Right. And that's what kind of happened. And
the cut we got was what JJ sort of said here.
And that's what I'm saying. There may have been an early assembly cut after those first rounds of shoots, like the initial round, but I don't know. But what I do know is, like I said, we were confirmed that things changed so many fucking times that's why there was no toy line. Because they had no toys to go with it.
We never shared our story, but I mean, from a Kathleen Kennedy perspective, what I've heard from very, very, very reliable sources is all she cared about was Ray. Like all she.
I'm not surprised.
She was
Oh,
only
yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
Everything else sort of was like, let JJ go do his thing. But the only thing she really was paying attention to and making sure was what her standards was the arc of Ray.
Yeah,
Again,
her own
makes sense
self-insert.
given we saw.
That, of course, is the priority.
Yeah. But so the reality is, like, I just think JJ put it out there, and it is what it is. But I just point out, like, there was a moment there where he was trying to, like, no, see the JJ cut it. There was so much shot. I wish we could say, like, not lies probably, because they shot extra scenes. Every movie does. But do you guys remember that spin? There was a whole thing of him trying to put out there the JJ cut. So I bring it up of, like, he's smart. Like, he doesn't F around this industry. Like, he totally had his camp figure that out.
He kind of pulled the Josh Trank.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like the Trank cut. That's kind of like the same thing.
And I think what he's trying to say with that was, like, he had an initial vision, and it wasn't so much even just this movie, but the initial. Because here's what I'm getting at is and I try to correct everybody every time they say, "Oh, there was no plan. There was no plan." It's like, yes, there was a fucking plan, and Daisy Ridley and Simon Pegg and
Colin Trevorrow was involved in that plan too, and totally.
Colin Trevorrow was part of that plan, and Ryan Johnson was the one who threw it out the fucking window, and KK let him do it. And it was that moment that everything went, and I've said it a million times over. Sure, the 3 movies we would have got if we would have went with JJ's plan probably wouldn't have been great, because the fucking guy is not a great storyteller, right? We know
They
this.
would have been better.
They would have been at least more consistent.
Would have looked good. He knows how to make it. He knows
It's obviously setting up a romance between Finn and Rey. It was already been known that Finn was supposed to be a Jedi. We know things changed when it came to Oscar Isaac's role. He was supposed to die originally, but then JJ changed that concept. We know that
many changes happened along the way, and this is something that we know for certain. And there was no JJ cut other than a convenient excuse.
Andre,
it wasn't.
You said
Ryan.
that the question. You said that the
was
question.
Kathleen Kennedy.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it was at her behest. Yeah.
No, I mean, I know for a fact with Colin Trevorrow's version, all the things about, like, Finn's story and all the things that sort of he was trying to make fit the story and the movie be better, Kathleen Kennedy had no interest in fixing or doing. It was complete.
Obviously, or she could have, because she's the only one who could have made that call, Andy. The proof is
no, but I'm saying you said it was Ryan that ruined the third one.
Well, but
Ryan ruined the second. Ryan
that's
ruined
what I was talking
stuff.
about. That's what I mean. Is it was his
gentlemen? You are saying exactly the same thing.
Exactly,
we are all in agreement here, and we all agree that of course on the third one it went through many different iterations. It was a complete mess. The one consistency was that Kathleen Kennedy demanded that her self-insert character be treated right. There we are all in agreement. With that, we have a couple of more super chats to go through. Okay. So we're going to do that.
I do have a
right
question
now.
for you, Andre. Though.
Sure.
After.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. And Christopher Tock says, Shaq as Steel in the multiverse. I would not be surprised. Did he pop up in Flash? What do you think, Andy?
So who is in the Flash? Which one?
Shaq as Steel. Could that happen?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there's so many potential. I mean, between that one and Multiverse of Madness, both DC and Marvel are about to throw the kitchen sink into cameos, from what I'm hearing. Some we probably won't even know because they'll shoot them so carefully and quickly. But I don't think Shaq will be there. I think they're focused on some more fun ones. But anything's possible at this point.
Yeah. And then Felicity Poubel says, WB has completely screwed themselves for the foreseeable future by hitching their wagon to J.J. Abrams. Yeah, we shall see. Pablo Papano says, Warner's just changed Black Superman to Platinum Plan Man in the Wakandaverse. That's your opinion. Sister Harrow says, hail all for 10 Australian dollars. Thank you so much. I watch YouTubers nowadays more than Netflix. I think many do. And Lady Ruscolin says, Star Trek, The Force Awakens, and Mission Impossible all feel like badly written parodies of the material. Bad Robot is where creativity goes to die. Jack Hudson says, who keeps giving JJ money just to copy and paste movies? They should know by now that he can't be creative. Well, Andy, just a few minutes back, he gave an excellent reason into their thinking, so that's the studio perspective right there. Albatross says, you're not wrong about the blame game. Wasn't there a rumor saying its faction is happy the fandom's at war? From we've heard, one faction there wants to see everything burn, so as long as they gain from it. Mr. Ticklefrunk says, for $5 Canadian, when you hear and read still in talks about, it just means someone said, hey, we're still not doing Section 31, right? Yeah, that's never going to happen.
Pretty much. Well, I think the bigger part is the walk back, because before they were breaking scripts. Script had mentioned that before too. Like before the news was, yeah, we're full steam ahead. In fact, they even had certain people signed on or whatever for it already, including what's her face who plays Georgiou, Michelle Yeoh. I mean, and then we were hearing rumors that her agents were getting pissed because she had other things coming up, and they had her under contract for that, and it wasn't happening like it was supposed to, or something to that effect. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andre.
I'm not entirely sure, so we're gonna have to get back to that.
Well, it had to do with Shang-Chi because it kept bumping up against Shang-Chi or something like that.
Yeah, well, there's a schedule conflict. She had reserved time, but the trades kept on promoting Kurtzman's little story that they're breaking story on Section 31, which they've technically been breaking, I guess, for the past 4.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the part. And now they've backed it up to just thoughts and talks. So, yeah.
And moving on from there, we have another Trek question. HyperGyver2 says, I'm curious as to what everyone's favorite Starfleet uniform is. The Monster Maroon? The Wrath of Khan to the TUDC is by far the best looking uniform to date. So then he refers to the red one with the black trousers. As for me,
petticoats, yeah.
What's your favorite uniform script?
I like the TOS ones. I like the dynamic colors. It's simple, but I do also have great reverence for the petticoat because it's way more formal. But yeah, I like the old school ones from the old days, Command Gold, and yeah.
Andy, your favorite Star Trek uniform?
I like the Next Generation sort of original version. That's maroon color, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, kind of.
Depends on where they're from, but yeah,
reddish, deep red. That
was actually purple initially, but the cameras and the lighting distorted the color into red. Believe it or not,
yeah, that's the same problem with the gold turning green in the original series.
Well, it was green, but it looked gold. Yeah,
or that was what it was. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Paulie, your favorite Star Trek uniform?
Yeah, there's something very like Fat Elvis about those mid '80s Wrath the Khan yeah, this is small suit, but like with the with the lapels hanging and the flaps and the big
Spock, why don't you do that? Why do you have to go ready?
They had a great look, man. It's something there, and there's something very dated about them. I love those. Those ones I grew up on.
I told you the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
Excuse me.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, Spock.
That's what I can think of. All I think of when anybody says Fat Elvis is the Eddie Murphy bit.
Yeah. Rob, your favorite Star Trek uniform?
I like the Next Generation, and also like the petticoats. I do like the red petticoats with the black trousers.
Tom, and yours?
Boots.
I kind of like the movie TNG ones that they kind of went through, and I think one of them ended up being like what was it, DS9 or uniform or something like that.
Yes.
I thought those were a bit more regal looking, but otherwise, yeah, I got to go with either TOS like script because I love the coloring and the contrast and the simplicity of them, or the movie the TNG one, or the not TNG but the Wrath of Khan ones that they brought up in the super chat.
Yeah, exactly.
I was worried for a second. I thought you'd been abducted, Andy. So
no, but I got to say this though, for all those people who said that all those times, remember the same people that said all this time that Section 31 was greenlit are the same motherfuckers who said we were liars. Just remember that.
Yeah, and as for me, I agree with script. I'm weak for the original ones, with the TNG movie and later DS9 ones as a good number two. But original series all the way for me. Jason Blanquiron sent us £99 super sticker of like a little pear guy, so thanks for that. Mills says for 14 South African rands, you can't build goodwill when what you built on is fucked. So yeah, there you go. Marcos A says
try. He's gonna try.
Midnight's Edge, really insightful show today. Tom and Andre, the panel, Paulie, Rob, Script Doctor, always awesome. Always great seeing Andy on the show.
We're glad to have him.
Yeah, and then Brett Cohen. So I think that he's allowed. Let's see if we can bring it up on screen. If it's for reason enough. No, I can't bring it up. So Brett Cohen, and I think that he's allowed to say this because his name is Cohen, says the best. And this is Cohen, the best cut JJ is ever going to have was at his circumcision. Cohen said that.
Oh. Wait a minute. I'm not touching that.
So yeah, thanks for sharing that with us, Brett Cohen. Have to make that abundant.
You do express that, huh?
And with that, we are
all caught up.
Are all caught up indeed. So with that, I would like to say thank you to our most excellent and revered panel for today. We are so glad that you could pop in and join us. Andy, always a pleasure. Where can people find you?
Popcornplanet.com is always where to find me. I have a second channel called Movie World because some people get annoyed by my commentary. They say you're pleasing the alt-right. How dare you? Just because I have opinions that aren't what they used to be. I'm more independent. But I have another one called Movie World, and I'm starting to post more movie content there. So those are the two places you can find me: Popcorn Planet and Movie World. And I'm going actually, if I can plug another thing after this, my colleagues who called the Planet of the Nerds are doing an International Rare Disease Day Streamaganza telethon today. I'm going to be there next. So come find me there if you guys are looking for more to do after this.
Awesome. And is that thing that we talked about this week, or is that not set in stone yet?
About it could be. Actually, let me tell you. Let me line it up with you afterwards.
Okay, I didn't want to plug it if it wasn't.
Nerd Wars is what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
I just got to figure out. Did we say this? Anyway, we'll talk. Let DM me. But yes, you guys will come on Nerd Wars soon because I'd love to have you guys.
Yeah, one of these Thursdays we'll say.
I want a topic to work, and I might need to push it this week because I want to do. Does WandaVision suck? But I want to wait till the whole show is over and then get someone who hates it and someone who loves it to go. So we'll see. Stay tuned.
All right. On that note, though, we will catch you soon. And I did bring you in here for one reason, was because I thought we were going to talk about the Amber Heard stuff, but we may get to that on the next show, so we may have to have you back one of these days.
She's a liar. There you go.
But no, we're due for that video.
She's I can't confirm it. I've heard from a source that James Wan has fired her already. But
yeah,
we
got a video coming, so
I'm waiting for I want to be able to say Amber Heard was fired with 200% positivity, but it doesn't look good for her.
So that'll probably be in
the wrong bed.
Yeah, she pooped the wrong bed. So yeah, check out Popcorn Planet. Yes, please do check out our shirt. Do I have the video here? Have you seen the videotape? Yes, you can get that awesome shirt at our store right now.
You got it on a model. Is that a real model, or is that you shot yourself?
No,
they digitally put it.
Our guys that I don't know how they do it, but yeah, I'm assuming it's something like that. You check out Popcorn Planet, and like I said, maybe we'll try and have Andy again this week so we can talk some Amber.
Always happy to talk Amber Turd.
Yeah.
All right.
Indeed. And Script, thanks for joining us today. Always a pleasure to have you on. Where can people find you?
Well, thanks again very much for having me today. It's nice to have been back. You can find me on youtube.com/scriptdoctor, and be sure to follow my Twitter at scriptdoctorphd, as I am going to be doing another live show on another channel later this afternoon, right before, about 2 hours before Toxic Femininity. So if you want something to do, come join us over there, and we'll lead into Toxic Femme for you guys to have fun that night.
All right. And also check out the Latino Slant. Speaking of, we have a video that's going to be dropping very soon that was a co-production with us. Isn't that right, Paulie?
Yeah, our first of many. Well, first of two with actor Matthew Lillard and
I like him.
Yeah, playwright Oliver Mayer. We got that interview yesterday. So this one, first one will be on the play event this week, and then Tom has one he's creating out of that. That's more about Matthew's career.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that one as well. But for here in a little bit, I believe we're going to be dropping the first of them, and that'll give you all the info you need to know to see the live show that they're going to be doing on the 3rd. So check into that, and then later on this week, we're going to drop some more of that interview where I talked to Matthew about Scream and Hackers and Scooby-Doo. It's not a huge interview, but we only got him for a short time, but it's really interesting and some cool stuff we got to talk about. So do check that out. And also check out Mary Mayhem's channel. She joined us for a little bit ago, and she'll be with us tonight on Toxic Femme, as Script Doctor mentioned. So we hope to see you all then. With that, Andre, was there anything you had to bring up before we go?
Yes, one final thing.
Yes.
I am a huge fan of the movie Dread. And I know that many of you out there in the chat are fans of Dread as well. Well, in 10 minutes, I will be over at Mr. H Reviews, and we are going to be doing a live retrospective review, call it what you will, of that movie. So for anyone who is interested in that, come join me over at Mr. H Reviews and talk some Dread.
Well, you can add my bit to this. It's one of the best of the 3D Blu-rays out there. I'll tell you that.
Good one. It is a good one.
Indeed it is. And with that, so yeah, to summarize, check out Popcorn Planet, check out Script Doctor, check out Latino Slant. Stay tuned here for an interview with Matthew Lillard, and follow me over at Rage Reviews if you are into Judge Dredd. And of course, Toxic Femininity. So yeah, you have all the entertainment that you need on YouTube the next few hours. And with that, I would like to thank the panel for joining us, and a special thanks to all of you in the audience for sticking with us and making us part of your day. We couldn't do this without you. I'm just going to make a quick extra check, see that we didn't miss any super chats before we round out here. No, we are still fully caught up. So with that, I wish you all a great continued day.